There are things you cannot say. I've had the word lotus taken out from my column sometimes.
Why is that?
It just happens. Sometimes it does. I do have a lot more freedom than other people, primarily because I use humor. You can get away by saying a lot of things if you.
This is CBC Winnipeg. Here are the lineup tones in advance of the CBC Winnipeg weekday morning show. This is CBC Winnipeg. Here are the lineup tones in advance of the CBC Winnipeg weekday morning show.
My world is enormous. I have empathy for tentacled creatures that breathe methane, and my world is the whole universe. So I've never understood this intolerance for somebody who's different, or for somebody who comes from a different race, a different religion, a different caste. So I don't understand these people.
Now, Twinkle, you've sat on the sidelines of the Indian society, observing it, writing about it, and now talking about it with us as well. But what kind of India do you see, and do you hope that your children should inherit?
My notion of India is a very secular country. I grew up in that manner. I grew up also with living in two different cultures. My grandmother is Ismaili, so I grew up with that culture, going to the Jamaat Khana. My father's Hindu, so I grew up going to temples. And I grew up with a lot of harmony between these two sort of factions. I think for me, one of the most beautiful things, when my grandmother passed away, the Panditji from, my father's house came.
The Hindu priest.
The Hindu priest. He came and he touched her feet, and he was there in this Qabristan. And everybody let him do what he had to do.
So the Muslim graveyard, and that's what we're talking about, and a Hindu priest walking in, which in India's cultural context talks about secularism in this case.
Exactly. And it was really beautiful. And for me, that is the India that I would like to see going ahead for my children as well. I believe in unity, not uniformity. And I want that for the future. Again, unlike the science fiction readers I used to read, I can't predict the future. One never knows.
Thank you for listening to the interview from the BBC World Service. You'll find more in-depth conversations on the interview wherever you get your BBC podcasts, including episodes with the Palestinian-American human rights lawyer Professor Noura Irakat, author Sir Salman Rushdie, and former US Vice President Kamala Harris. Until the next time, namaste and bye for now.
From the BBC, that was The Interview. I'm Saroja Coelho. CBC News is...
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and we're live as we are every morning from Studio 15 here in downtown Winnipeg. Winds are calm. Right now, it is -2, and it is cloudy out there. Around the province, light snow up in Tuduli Lake. That's the cold spot. It's -10. Melita, you're the warm spot at -1, and Brandon is coming in and cloudy and -2. Morning show's on till 8:37. Corey Funk's the director. Good morning, Corey. Corey's also going to be covering your commute. Mr. Abiyadi will be covering weather. He's behind the controls. And there's Darren Marash. Good morning. Our YouTube producer saying hello to you this morning online. Well, before we get into what's coming up in this show, Josh Crabb will be with us for the morning. He's filling in for Heather Wells, and he's here with headlines. Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Marcy. CO Silica held another open house in Winnipeg last night. The Alberta Mining Company is trying once again to get a license to extract sand from below the surface of the RM of Springfield. Tears formed in Jeremy Bray's eyes last night after learning the Manitoba government won't pay for his medical treatment. Bray has a neurological disease slowly taking away his ability to move his muscles, why the province says it won't cover the cost. And we'll take you to a new innovation hub at Brandon's Assiniboine College, hear how it's bringing creators and tech experts together. Your next local CBC News is at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Nice to spend the morning with Josh. Today, we are going to take you to Churchill first thing because the guys that wrote Bear 33, this quirky little tune about a bear up there, they contacted the show and they were like, we heard you play part of our song. So we're going to get more of the story behind that bear and the bandmate that encountered him a lot, apparently, in Churchill. So that's coming up. Also, this morning on the show, we're going to hear about a new academic report. It says that Canada needs a national shoreline management plan. And here in Manitoba, with all of our flooding and methods to protect eroding shorelines, this is of interest to us. It could mean a lot for protecting communities and ecosystems at large all across Canada. So we'll hear more about what's in that report. A little bit later on the show, nearly 10 months ago, Canadians were encouraged to buy Canadian in response to U.S. tariffs. With the holiday season upon us now, we're now a month to Christmas today. How many Manitobans will be buying local this year? CBC's Jim Agapito hit the street to talk about that. So we will hear what people had to say. And then we'll hear more about a local tree lot that will no longer be operating. We'll talk to a member of the St. James Optimist Club about why they're not selling Christmas trees this year. That and a lot more. Stay with us.
On Q.
Joe Hill is a best-selling author who's written some of the most beloved and most terrifying novels of our time. He'll be here to talk about writing his first book in 10 years and handling the legacy of being the son of the legendary Stephen King.
Readers are pretty smart. They might buy your first book because you got a famous daddy, but if it's no good, they'll never buy the second one.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts.
World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Environmentalists and the energy industry are looking ahead to Thursday in Calgary. That is where the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and Alberta Premier Daniel Smith are expected to sign a memorandum of understanding. Sources tell CBC News the document will detail their support for a potential new oil pipeline to the BC coast. Let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, Alberta and BC are diametrically opposed on the issue of pipelines. Is the PM about to pick a side?
Marcia, this MOU risks kicking off a big fight with coastal First Nations by opening the door to exemptions to the ban on oil tanker traffic off British Columbia's sensitive northwest coast. And it would suspend the federal clean electricity regulations, move away from hard caps on carbon emissions from the oil and gas sector if Alberta signs on to a stronger industrial carbon price system, something that climate activists have long identified as critical. That much was previewed in the budget, but caveats and conditions remain for this new federal support. Here's Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson yesterday speaking to MPs at committee.
We have been clear with the proponents, if they have the support of First Nations and they have support of the jurisdictions, we will work with them to clear whatever barriers there are.
And what the Carney government hasn't said is what happens if that support does not come. This MOU is not the same as referring, fast-tracking, let alone approving a pipeline, and it doesn't seem to be a commitment to use new powers to ram through a pipeline no matter what.
What are the political risks for the federal Liberals in BC?
BC's Energy and Climate Minister Adrian Dix yesterday was reminding reporters that Daniel Smith has a party convention coming up this weekend and needs to keep Western separatists at bay. So cue the side-eye about what's really up with this deal.
The reason this is an MOU and not project support is there ain't no project.
If Carney really is about to risk projects that his major projects office has already prioritized in BC to support this big ask from the oil industry in his home province of Alberta, he's probably set for an earful from his own BC caucus too, that didn't believe they were elected to do this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Overnight strikes have killed at least 7 people in Ukraine. Firefighters guide people down the smoky stairwell of an apartment building in Kyiv. Ukraine says Russia launched 22 missiles and 460 drones across the country. Moscow says at least 3 people were killed in overnight attacks by Ukraine. As the destruction continues to play out on the ground, diplomats are gathering around tables to try to end the war. U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi today after days of discussions about a U.S. peace plan.
Ключевые положения плана Трампа основываются на понимании.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow has yet to receive any formal version of the plan, but he says it must respect the understanding reached between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin during their Alaska summit in August. A complaint has been filed against an RCMP officer in St. John's in relation to the arrest of a woman who has autism and an intellectual delay. As Ariana Kelland reports, the arrest happened while the Mountie was off duty and outside his jurisdiction.
Her spark is gone.
Melanie Burns says the 34-year-old woman she cares for hasn't been the same since an incident with a police officer last winter. The woman, who CBC News is not identifying, has autism, a seizure disorder, and intellectual delay. In late March, the woman and her respite worker visited the Pottle Centre, a social space for people with mental health challenges in St. John's. The woman wouldn't leave the computer she was using, and the centre was about to close. So a staff member of the Pottle Centre called her partner, an off-duty police officer.
My phone rang again. Melanie, this man is here and he's arresting her. And I said, he's arresting her? Like, what's he arresting her for? And she said, mischief.
Off-duty RCMP Constable David Banco physically removed the woman from the facility. But when the police force in that jurisdiction arrived, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, they declined to lay charges. Instead, they investigated Banco for assault, but closed the case without charges.
It could have been approached in a very different way.
Leah Farrell with the Autism Society of Newfoundland and Labrador says the initial handling of this incident underscores systemic failures.
It's important to be able to assess the situation and meet somebody where they're at.
The woman has mainly stayed in hospital due to her seizure disorder since this happened, though there's no evidence the incident is directly connected to her current condition. Meanwhile, Byrne is waiting to hear the results of the RCMP Civilian Complaint Commission's investigation. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Celebrated author Thomas King says he is not Indigenous, as he had believed all his life. King wrote books from an Indigenous perspective, including Green Grass Running Water, The Truth About Stories, and The Inconvenient Indian. Here he is speaking to CBC in 1993.
Simply, I want to talk about that side of Native life that is tenacious, that has sort of gotten us through all these years, that sense of humor, that spirit of community. That's what I want to do in my novels.
In an essay for the Globe and Mail published yesterday, King describes how he learned of rumors questioning his Cherokee ancestry and spoke to genealogists to get to the bottom of it. The 82-year-old says this revelation is devastating, and he did not purposefully pretend to have Indigenous roots. A Nova Scotia mother is sounding the alarm about what children are accessing on school computers. She came forward after her 14-year-old daughter was targeted by online predators. Blair Rhodes has her story and a warning. Some of the details are disturbing.
It's kind of what initiated the whole blow up of this, noticing some cuts on her arms. Got her on some antidepressants because we believed it was depression related.
But the mother says she quickly discovered it was not depression, but rather her daughter was being groomed by online predators who were encouraging her to harm herself. We are concealing the mother's identity to protect her daughter. The mother says she checked the girl's Chromebook computer that had been given to her by the school.
What concerned me the most is some of the conversations that were taking place on it. Nothing was flagged or picked up by the school system itself. The language that was used, violence that was discussed, sexual conversations back and forth.
The mother immediately took her daughter out of school and took the computer to the RCMP. The Mounties Internet Child Exploitation Unit is extracting data from the laptop to see if they can determine who's behind the online communications. Students across Nova Scotia have access to Chromebooks, and school districts insist there are safeguards to block access to dangerous online content. But the girls' school admitted in an email to parents that students are finding workarounds for those safeguards.
I went back and forth with myself, like, am I just being overprotective? Am I maybe reading this wrong? Like, is this worth taking to the RCMP?
The mother says she no longer has those doubts, and she's now homeschooling her daughter. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada is entering another RSV season. The respiratory illness can be especially dangerous for babies. But as health reporter Lauren Pelly tells us, experts say vaccine rollouts in recent years are making a big difference.
When I undid her sleeper, I could tell that she was pulling indrawing underneath her ribs.
Katrina Bellevance's 7-week-old daughter couldn't stop coughing. On that night in 2023, the Calgary mother realized her newborn was also struggling to breathe.
It was so sudden that in that moment we knew we had to get her to the hospital as soon as possible.
Bellevance's daughter was diagnosed with respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. She spent 4 days on oxygen in the hospital.
RSV might not be a household term for many families, but in pediatrics and in general practice, it is the number one cause of hospitalization year in, year out in children during their first year of life.
Pediatrician Dr. Jesse Papenburg hopes that will change. Data from Quebec showed the province's first immunization program using monoclonal antibody shots for infants was a success, likely preventing half the usual RSV-associated hospitalizations. Papenburg says a recent review of real-world data from abroad showed similar results.
And what they found was that over 80% effective at reducing the risk of emergency department visits due to RSV, hospitalizations due to RSV.
There are also vaccines available to mothers during pregnancy, which can offer protection to infants as well. But access to these new tools varies across the country. Medical experts say more awareness and uptake is needed, since RSV cases are climbing again in Canada. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in downtown Winnipeg on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and on YouTube. Thanks for joining us this morning. Oh, we got a fun start to the show. I can just see my guest hooking up now over Zoom from Churchill, Manitoba. Why? Because he's part of the band that put together this song, Bear 33. We played part of it a while back, and he reached out to the show and said, do you want to know the full story behind that bear? And we're like, yes, we do. So that's coming up in moments here. Also this hour on the show, Ryan Tumulty's on, reporter with the Toronto Star. He's one of the regulars in the program. We'll find out what he's watching for this week in Canadian politics. Spoiler alert, what is going on with that pipeline? What deal will be made between Alberta and the Prime Minister, and will it wholly exclude BC? You've just been hearing about that on World Report. Plus, a new academic report is out. It says Canada needs a national shoreline management plan. We'll dig into that, and we'll look at our shorelines here in Manitoba. Right now, let's go to Josh Crabb, who's in for Heather Wells with our headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. The Manitoba Métis Federation is suing Canada and Manitoba over the 60s scoop. The decades-long practice saw many Indigenous children removed from their homes between 1951 and 1991. A 30-year-old with a degenerative disease has learned his plea for provincial coverage fell short. Jeremy Bray has type 2 spinal muscular atrophy, which gradually robs him of his ability to move his muscles, while the province says it won't pay for his medication. And Alberta mining company CO Silica held an open house in Winnipeg last night. It comes amid a second effort to obtain a license to extract sand from below the surface of Manitoba. Your next local CBC News is at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Abby, good morning to you. Abby Adiemi, how are you?
Good morning, Marcy. I stepped out this morning and I felt my face hurting.
Really?
Yeah, we're setting into that winter vibe.
I didn't find it so bad this morning myself.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my system trying to adjust. But Marcy, my face was like, it said, my face hurts.
It's the stinging.
Yeah, the sting. It was a cold one for me. Maybe not for a lot of people, but you will definitely feel that chill this morning as you step out. Here in Winnipeg, we're sitting at -2 at this time. Cloudy outside. The winds at some point will become gusty from the north, and it's going to hold our daytime high around -1. So expect a mostly cloudy day. It's going to be mostly cloudy conditions through the day. We just have that slim chance of, snow snow that may come our way later before we deep to about -7 today. While across the south, we're looking at temperatures holding between -1 and -3, and we'll see periods of snow this morning in the Westman region and down near the U.S. border. And some areas will see that snow tapering off before the noon period, and then things would brighten up. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds after that. Further north, the chill factor remains strong, talking about areas around Flin Flon, Thompson, even colder up in Churchill this morning. We're seeing temperatures starting the day around -6 in cloudy conditions, and those light snow may drift through at times, but the temperatures will be holding steady around that -6 mark for most regions up north. But Winnipeg right now, we're holding it steady at -2, and we may get some snow this afternoon.
Okay, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey Funk, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but you and I got, just ironically, we both got more sleep than we usually get ever.
Yeah, it was great.
I think I fell asleep. I think I was in bed at like 7 last night.
I think our whole household, I don't know, maybe it's just the whole thing. My baby usually goes down at 6:30. She went down at almost 5:30.
Right?
She was like, I'm tired. Everyone was like, I'm done.
But
yeah.
I find I'm speaking at the speed of light. Like maybe I got too much sleep and I need to like chill it out for half a second for those that are just getting up. How's the commute today?
Not bad down south here. One thing you might want to keep an eye out for up north is Highway 6 between Wabodin and Thompson. Manitoba 501 showing covered conditions, so maybe a bit snowy, a bit slippery on Highway 6 between Wabodin and Thompson. Other than that, though, if you see anything else going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
.6:14 is the time right now, and many Manitobans feel a special kinship with the polar bears in Churchill. And if you live in the small port town on the shore of Hudson Bay, you may even know the bears personally. A group of musicians who lives there wrote a rock song about one of those bears.
I am the wind and snow, in my thoughts alone, I just wander on.
We're just giving you a snippet of this right now. We'll play the whole song after our interview, but this is a song called Bear 33, and we played part of it on the air before. In fact, Roy Mexted got messages after we played it, and he's the guitarist and lead singer for the band behind the tune Days on the Land from up in Churchill. He wrote to us and he said, there's a bit more to share about the story about Bear 33 than we even sing about in the tune. And so I'm pleased to say that he's with us live via Zoom from a beautiful space in Churchill. Good morning.
Morning, Marcy. This is exciting that you picked up on the message, and it was amazing to get to see our song, and you're talking about our song and the story on your show, and our friends sending it to us, and it means it's a big deal for us to get some exposure from up here in the CBC. So it was exciting, and here we are now. So this is amazing. It's early, but that's fine. Let's do it.
We're thrilled to have you here. I was talking about your beautiful space. You're surrounded by wood, and there's guitars on the wall. Is it a recording studio or just a beautiful part of your home?
Yep. This is just a little a little home studio. I live at Goose Creek, which is a little bit out of the city of Churchill, about 10-15 minutes away in a cottage area. And so we just we make do with what we can here. So we just put whatever we found wood on the walls, and this is a bit of a little studio. So we do live streaming as a band and different things in the arts kind of community in the north. So we do quite a lot of virtual stuff, being a small community and remote. So this kind of virtual stuff is important.
Now, before we get to the meaning behind the song, people can probably hear from your accent that you moved to Churchill from Australia some 8 years ago now. What brought you there?
Well, I was just traveling with my girlfriend, Canada. She wanted to come to Canada after we traveled her country, France, and Australia and New Zealand. And let's just go do one little unique experience in Canada and really get something special before we go home. And then we came to Churchill, and I worked as in tourism and in hospitality, and that was just for a bear season. There's a polar bear season here. We're in the middle of it right now. And polar bears roaming the streets. Well, I just wanted to come here and do whatever I can so I can see some polar bears. and the community just kind of we just kind of fell in love with Churchill. I mean, I could play my gigs here and music here, and there's opportunities in a small community. If you have something to offer, then there's always something you can get back from it as well. It's a relationship that you build over time in a small community, and there was also pathways to get our citizenship, which we now have. I'm a New Zealander, Australian, Canadian, and so is my 4-year-old boy as well. So we've fully settled into this little town. It's just awesome up here.
I love that. And so your boy will grow up with the bear alarms when the bears are in town. I've been to Churchill. It always caused me a lot of stress, but I suppose living up there, you're used to it. Who was Bear 33?
Well, Bear 33. Well, I was researching different little stories and ideas to write a new album. I wrote a solo album first, called Smiling Like a Sundog. Oh, there it is right there. Thank you very much. Smiling Like a Sundog.
Show it, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like an acoustic. I'd done all the stuff myself. Then researching a new album, and we got the guys in to form this band called Days on Land. Bear 33 was something that kept popping up from stories I'd hear from tour guides like Leroy Whitmore and others that would talk about this polar bear. They used to they still do sort of tag the bears, the problem bears. If there's a bear that comes in that's walking around town and they need to get rid of it because it's where it shouldn't be, and you want to teach it a lesson so it doesn't keep coming back with that human contact, they take the bear and they put it into the polar bear holding facility or the polar bear jail. And it's a huge, big, old, repurposed from the military days, a big old hangar. And it's got a beautiful big polar bear mural. You'll see it in some pictures of Churchill. But that's where they put the bears for a good couple of weeks or whatever, just to isolate them and know that that's going to happen to them if they want to come too close to the humans. And they used to paint certain bears, like huge, big numbers on them, like big black numbers. They just put a little dot of color on them now, but they used to paint them. And this number 33, then they'd tranquilize them and airlift them in a helicopter somewhere out in the Hudson Bay or somewhere where they can just go and live their lives peacefully away from the town. And number 33 kept coming back, and that didn't happen too often. And so he created a relationship with Jack. He's notorious himself as being just someone who just lives and breathes polar bears, and he's retired now. He's on the video that you're showing now. And
is he in your band, or is he just a guy in Churchill?
He's a guy in Churchill. He's a bit quiet. I couldn't get him on for an interview or anything, but that's our keyboard player who's playing Jack in the video.
Okay.
And there's Bear 33. Okay, so
we're watching on Zoom, by the way. Yeah.
So they have a relationship. Those, Bear 33 kept coming back, Jack chasing them away, and it just turned into a legend. And everyone just kept saying Bear 33. So just fleshed that out into a rock song, and it's just going guns, and people are loving it. And it's a funny little music video. So it's going good.
I love that. It's just so much fun that it actually has a true story behind it. I saw the dots on the bears. I didn't see the numbers. So it's interesting that back in the day, they used to actually put the numbers on the side of them so in that way. How did you all find each other, all of the musicians in Churchill? Because this is one song on a new album, as you mentioned, that was written and recorded there. Did you start doing your solo stuff and someone heard you? How did you all form your group?
Yeah, well, when these songs started, when I started writing the new songs, it was clear that, I wanted to make it more of a community effort. And, any opportunity that we can turn something into a community sort of project, we will, especially when we had funding to do certain workshops and things. So let's get the musicians together from the town, turn it into a band. And we have music engineers here doing workshops. So during that workshop, that's when we recorded the album. So it just came through sort of naturally and organically that way. But
Beautiful.
It turns out that Jeremy, who works as a plumber and Mr. Fix-It in the tour company, he plays an amazing keyboard. Okay, he's a keyboard player, and Joe Stover plays all sorts of instruments, and he's just a character, and he learned the bass guitar. You know Joe? You're right.
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot of people know Joe. Say hi to Joe. Every time we've been in Churchill, he's given us some kind of a story or interview because he knows everything up in those parts. Next time CBC is there, we will certainly come and hang out with your band. I'm cutting our conversation off because we want to get the whole tune in, Roy. And thank you so much for sharing the story with us. Where can people are you on Facebook, socials? Where can they follow your group?
Absolutely. Just search, Days on Land, from Facebook to YouTube to Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. Listen to the song and the whole album, and we'd love to know what the listeners think. Thank you so much, Marcy.
Here's Days in the Land and Bear 33. Thanks, Roy. Take care.
I am the wind and snow in my thoughts alone. I just wander on. I am the endless seas. That's how it's meant to be. Long grass on a silent beach. I can be hard to find. Down by the flats on the riverside, I could smell a caribou hide. Under the lights of the aurora, well, I didn't get too far. It was a sneak attack. How Jack know I was coming back this time? I'll be doing time. I'm there, 33. I'm wild and I'm free. You never know where I'm gonna go or where I'm gonna be. They locked me in a cage at that military base. You better run, you better hide, you better let me go. You let me go. Me and Jack would play. He'd send me bolting across the bay. I won't forget that face. But a bear can wait. Down by the fort where the cannons lay, sliding in the water. I'm coming over under the lights of the aurora, where I didn't get too far. It was a sneak attack. How Jack know I was coming back this time? I'll be doing time. I'm there, 33. I'm wild and I'm free. You never know where I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna be.
Bear 33 from Days in the Land. We were in conversation earlier with Roy Mexstad, who's a guitarist and vocalist for them. Check them out online, or if you're up in Churchill, maybe you'll check them out in person. Such a fun video, too, if you're watching on Facebook, rather on YouTube this morning. It is 6:25 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on the app and YouTube. Well, next on the show, a new report from the University of Waterloo says Canada needs to do more to protect its coast from storms and erosion. The Intact Centre on Climate Adaptation recommends a national plan to guide shoreline management. It might involve natural features being used, like wetlands or building seawalls that could protect the shore. Annabella Bonata is with us, Managing Director of the Centre, which is based at the University of Waterloo. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this report calls for regional shoreline management, as we mentioned, across Canada. How is that management done now?
So management is currently fragmented. So there's no consistent national framework, and the responsibilities are divided among different levels of government, including Indigenous authorities, municipalities, federal, provincial, territorial government, and it results in an uneven capacity and different approaches. So shorelines don't stop and coasts don't stop at municipal or provincial borders or boundaries. So planning in one area can cause problems in other areas downstream. So it's important that we have a coordinated long-term approach. If not, communities, generally end up implementing projects that are short-term and can actually make the problem worse.
So here around our lakes, we have like gabion walls in some places, right? Like rocks, and then they have like a cage around them to try to help. We've tried a number of different methods. And then we do have seawalls like in Gimli, but we also have up in Churchill, we were just talking to Churchill, obviously shoreline protection there. The report stresses that engineered protections alone are not enough. So how should communities balance what I mentioned there, the hard seawall, the infrastructure, with the natural solutions like wetlands?
Yeah, so in critical conditions, you may just have to build, a seawall, for example. But the issue with a seawall is that they can fail, so they're human-made, and they're not the best at absorbing wave energy. They're not good for erosion. They're not really good for long-term fixes. So ideally, we combine them or just use natural infrastructure or nature-based solutions. So we're talking about marshes, wetlands. We're talking about bringing sandbanks to the beaches because they have plants that are made to both clean the water, to slow down the water if there's flooding, and to help with erosion. So sand or sediment in coast and in our shorelines, it's meant to move around. So these are dynamic systems. And when we build something hard like a seawall, those sediments have nowhere to go, so they move to the sides and end up causing erosion down the line. So ideally, when we're looking at a regional way to really protect our shorelines, we need to start incorporating more of those nature-based solutions that were there way before we were here, and that are really, really good at maintaining the shoreline.
I understand that Prince Edward Island is a good example of a strategy in place that you think is a good direction. Can you tell us a bit about what they're doing there?
Yes. So PEI was highly impacted, over time, but Fiona caused a lot of damage in 2022, and so they've lost a lot of their shoreline, of their coast. So the very first thing the province did has been to temporarily pause any sort of development on the coast, any sort of new development. And that's the biggest thing that any community or province can do, is just stop building in the areas that we cause more erosion and flooding. But the second thing that they have done is that they're piloting a program like the one that our report suggests. So instead of dividing the province into the municipalities and asking them to do their shoreline management, they've divided the province into 17 regions that really make sense with the way that coasts work. So they incorporate the entire system of the coast instead of just breaking it up into areas that wouldn't work well together. That wouldn't work well if you do one measure in one area and cause issues down the line. So they're looking at shoreline management at a regional level that makes sense with the system of the coast, and they're the first province to do this in Canada.
Annabella, thanks for your time this morning, just giving us highlights of the report. People can go online and read more details, and we'll, of course, be analyzing more details in the days ahead. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
One of those details is also how Indigenous communities along those shorelines and leadership can be involved in the planning and why that's critical. That we've been in conversation with Annabella Bonata, Managing Director of Climate Science at the Intact Centre on Climate Adaptation at the University of Guelph. That is, at the University of Waterloo. We reached her in Guelph. You can check out their website for links to the report. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. At 6:30, it's cloudy and -2 downtown, cloudy and -3 in Dauphin, mostly cloudy, and -7 in Flin Flon. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb. Tears formed in Jeremy Bray's eyes last night after learning the Manitoba government won't pay for his medical treatment. Bray has a neurological disease slowly taking away his ability to move his muscles. The 30-year-old and his family met with the health minister, hoping the province would agree to pay for the costly drug. But the province is not changing its mind. Bray called it a tough day.
All I would like is to be for the province that I've lived in my entire life, the province that I love, to help me and provide treatments.
Manitoba isn't paying for the drug because it won't overrule Canada's drug agency. It doesn't recommend the treatment for adults over 25, citing a lack of evidence. Bray has had the treatment for half a year because the drug company was giving it to him for free, but that coverage is lapsing soon. CO Silica held another open house in Winnipeg last night. The Alberta Mining Company is trying once again to get a license to extract sand from below the surface of the Arm of Springfield. Supporters and opponents attended the event held in a meeting room at Club Regent Casino. Winnipeg resident John Sparrow, who owns an oil change company, says he supports CO Silica because Manitoba's economy needs a boost.
We need to develop our resources here. I don't like being from a deficit province. I feel horrible when I go to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and those taxpayers are funding our stuff here.
People attending the event were asked whether they supported or opposed the project. The Manitoba Métis Federation is suing Canada and Manitoba over the 60 scoop. The decades-long practice saw many Indigenous children removed from their homes between 1951 and 1991. The MMF claims thousands of Red River Métis children were taken from their communities during that time, resulting in the deprivation of Métis culture, language, and identity for many. They're suing on behalf of all Red River Métis people impacted by the 60 scoop, as Métis and non-status Indigenous people were largely excluded from a 2017 settlement for survivors. Celebrated author Thomas King says despite what he has believed his entire life, he is not Indigenous. King has written numerous best-selling books from an Indigenous perspective, including The Inconvenient Indian. Here he is speaking to the CBC in 1993.
Simply, I want to talk about that side of Native life that is tenacious, that has sort of gotten us through all these years, that sense of humor, that spirit of community. That's what I want to do in my novels.
In an essay published by the Globe and Mail, King details how he learned of rumors questioning his Cherokee ancestry and took it upon himself to work with a genealogist. The 82-year-old calls the revelation devastating, and he insists he never purposefully intended to deceive anyone about his heritage. A new lab at Assiniboine College is bringing together creativity and entrepreneurship. At the Creative CoLab, makers get together and get hands-on experience with everything from 3D printing to sewing to digital design. Drew Miles is a second-year digital art and design student. He's using new tools he says felt intimidating before. He can now customize guitar parts with 3D printers to redesign the neck of a guitar.
I love to solve problems. So when I think about things that I liked on this guitar, but I didn't like it about this guitar, I now have the power to design away things that don't work well. Things like the shape of the neck. I can make a shape of the neck that's best for me.
Miles says the CoLab has given him a lasting creative community because it's open to students, entrepreneurs, and creatives in the region who want to join. And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
All right, Josh Grubb, thank you.
You're welcome.
Josh is filling in for Heather Wells this morning, and you're listening to Information Radio, the morning show here from downtown Winnipeg on 89.3 FM. My name is Marcy Marcusa with our team here at the show. Abby Adeyemi has our regional forecast now on CBC.
Yeah, most of the regions are seeing temperatures below zero this morning. Starting off here in Winnipeg, we're looking at temperatures sitting around -2 at the Forks. It's cloudy outside. Expect this cloudy day to stay with a slim chance of snow and winds becoming gusty from the north this morning, pushing our high only to -1 later. Tonight will bring some partly cloudy conditions, and that slim chance of snow is still going to stay with us for most of the day into the evening before temperatures drop to -7 overnight. But tomorrow we'll get to see a mix of sun and clouds, and then we push to about -4 for our high. The Pembina Valley region towards the U.S. border, we're seeing temperatures around -2, also cloudy out there. We're going to be seeing light snow expected this morning, leading to a high near -1 with gusty winds. In the Westman region, Brandon surrounding communities, we're seeing -2 there. Periods of snow will be ending around noon before turning into a mix of sun and clouds, and your high will only be near -1 today. For Dauphin and most of the regions in the Parkland area, we're looking at -3 at this time, mainly cloudy, light breeze. Highs would only get to -2 today. In the Interlake region, around Gimli, starting at -2 and cloudy, you're going to warm to around -1 with a breezy north winds and a slim chance of flurries sometime this afternoon. For the powerful influence surrounding communities, we're looking at mainly cloudy conditions, -7 at this time. We have a slim chance of snow through the day with a high near -6. While in Thompson, we're looking at -6, expecting periods of light snow through the day, reaching a high around -5 with light breeze. And for folks around the Churchill-York region, it's cold. It's -6 at this time. Periods of snow all day, staying cool, and your high will just stay steady around -6 for the rest of the day. So it's more like we're getting into that winter mode for Manitoba as we, get into December. At least we're still holding on to that all fall vibe till the end of November.
There's still green
Mercy.
grass out there.
I saw that at the park yesterday. I'm like, okay,
and
there's
it's
still
growing
green
in some
spots.
people's lawns. I mean, I think our last mow's behind us, but honestly, it's crazy.
Taking my drone up every now and then at the park, and I'm trying to find, spots with no green stuff, but I still see green grass. I'm like, okay, we're holding on to this till it's December, and it's the 25th already.
I know, month to go. Did you see the pictures of Calgary though yesterday?
Oh yeah, I'm like, okay,
it's
but
coming.
I'm like, it's coming our way.
Let's get into the commute this morning and find out what's affecting traffic. Corey's popped back in. Hi.
Hello. Yes. Well, in terms of maybe snow, no snow at least down south right now. But if you are on Highway 6 between Wabodin and Thompson, you might see some snowy, partly covered conditions on the highway. So just heads up, might be a little bit slippery there between Wabodin and Thompson on Highway 6. Other than that, though, been pretty smooth commute. But if you see something going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
With business news, Crystal Ramlakan is here via Zoom, as she is each morning. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
So let's start with the trade news. Yesterday, you were talking about Prime Minister Carney dodging questions about the last time he spoke to U.S. President Donald Trump. He's been criticized for how he handled that. What's been the fallout from it?
Well, a spokesperson for Carney says he is weighing a trip to Washington next week to attend the draw for the FIFA World Cup. So, he might run into Trump there. And this is after seeming to brush off reporter questions about the last time that he spoke to Trump. So here's a reminder of what he said.
I've been busy. We passed a budget that's going to catalyze $1 trillion of investment. We have launched new trade agreement. We've secured new investment. So we're busy. He's got other things to do. We'll re-engage when it's appropriate.
When was the last time you spoke to the president?
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters. I look forward to speaking to the president soon, but I don't have a burning issue to speak with the president about right now. When America wants to come back and have the discussions on the trade side, we will have those discussions.
So Canada-U.S. trade talks broke down last month after Trump lashed out at Canada for Ontario Premier Doug Ford's anti-tariff ad campaign that invoked Ronald Reagan. And since then, Carney and his government have pursued closer ties with oil-rich Gulf countries and a trade agreement with India.
We'll see how this continues to shake out. We actually have an interview about Ottawa coming up, actually, politics in Ottawa. Next, though, you have news about a new investigation into cryptocurrency, and actually this one has apparently ties to Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. So even as the crypto industry gains mainstream acceptance, at least $28 billion tied to illicit activity flowed into crypto exchanges over the past 2 years. And that's according to an examination by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the New York Times, and 36 other news organizations. So the analysis shows cyber criminals and scammers moved money onto exchanges, which are online marketplaces where people can convert dollars into digital coins. And among the recipients of this dirty money was Binance, the world's biggest crypto exchange, which also participated in a $2 billion business deal with Trump's crypto firm in May. So Binance has a Canadian connection, with its founder being born in China but raised here in Canada. And while the crypto industry does have billions of dollars a day in legitimate transactions, experts say law enforcement can't cope with the amount of illicit activity in that space. Now, the largest exchanges have pledged to crack down on criminals. I mean, Binance did plead guilty to money laundering in 2023 and agreed to pay $4.3 billion to the U.S. government after processing transactions for some terrorist groups. But last month, Trump granted a pardon to Binance's founder, who had served a 4-month sentence.
Finally, people looking for a cell phone plan deal on Black Friday, I understand, might be out of luck.
Yeah, so shoppers may be noticing fewer bargains among this year's promotions from Canada's leading telecoms as they increasingly prioritize revenue growth over more subscriptions. So chief financial officers from Bell and TELUS were among the speakers at a conference held by Desjardins yesterday, and they say the competitive environment has been easing. So that shift comes after a couple of years of intense competition to gain customers, but now companies say they feel like they're getting back to more normal interactions when it comes to pricing. So, maybe good for these companies and shareholders, but probably less so for people looking for deals right at this moment.
All right, Crystal, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
That's our business news with Crystal Ramlakan. How you doing out there? Getting ready to stand in the cold? We're going to take a turn as we get to the end of the week here and feel the real stuff. And that means if you're biking, if you're walking, if you're standing at the bus stop, you're going to want to just get ready. Saturday night, the low is -20. So we haven't seen that all year long, right? That's kind of what we have ahead. Today, not so bad. Crisp for sure, though. Abby said his face was stinging a bit out there. It is below zero. We're at -2. We do have today a 30% chance of snow in our forecast, and we're not going to change our temperature much. Our high is going to be around -1. So that's what we're looking at. Brandon right now cloudy and -2, and Thompson's cloudy and -6. Next on the show, the University of Manitoba just wrapped up its first Indigenous Spirit Week. Now, among their daily themes, they had Moccasin and Mukluk Monday, Show Us Your Heritage Wednesday, HAIR. Kukum Karen Kershane wants students to be loud and proud of their indigeneity. She's the university's grandmother in residence. She helps Indigenous students walk in two worlds as they adjust to university life. Kukum Karen told Unreserved host Rosanna Deerchild how working as a school teacher inspired her to create a University Spirit Week tailored to Indigenous students.
Well, I'm originally a school teacher, so I'm always trying to engage with students when I was in my schools. And because I was in Indigenous schools, I thought, let's build some identity. And so we would have an Indigenous Spirit Week. And then this summer, I'm starting my second year here at the University of Manitoba. So I thought, well, what else can I do to engage students? I want to engage with these students. I want to work with them as close as I can. So I had this idea, well, I do this in my school. Let's try it here at the University of Manitoba. Because there's a whole bunch of reasons why we need to do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are those reasons?
Well, first and foremost, I want to build pride. I want these students to feel proud of who they are. And often in these spaces, we're not seen, we're not listened to. And it's just a way for us to say, look at me, here I am, and I'm going to be unapologetically Indigenous. And I'm going to wear my moccasins, I'm going to wear my ribbon skirts, I'm going to wear my hair. I'm going to be who I am. And that's what I want these students to feel like that. Like, walk into your class with your ribbon skirt, take up that space because this is your space. And the more we claim it, the more it'll be easier for others who are following behind them, right? So that's why I want to do this. And I don't know how much uptake we're going to have, but you know what? We'll start small and we'll build.
Kukum Karen Kershane, the grandmother in residence over at the University of Manitoba on the Fort Garry campus, in conversation with CBC's Rosanna Deerchild. If you want to hear more about the U of M's first Indigenous Spirit Week, Unreserved is featuring stories from the week on their show, and it airs today, that episode, at 1 o'clock, or of course you can find it anytime on the CBC Listen app. Now, in an unrelated story, but one that is really all over my social feeds this morning, and we'll hear more on the News on World Report, celebrated author Thomas King, the author of many best-selling books from an Indigenous perspective, including The Inconvenient Indian, the title you might recognize. He says he's believed his entire life that he is Indigenous, and in fact, he is not. He took it upon himself to work with a genealogist. The 82-year-old calls the revelation, quote, devastating, and we'll hear more in the news. It is 6:46 a.m. Ahead of 7 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Thanks for being with us today. Bit of music now from Saskatoon's Katie Tupper. This is Little Love.
You call me out, don't mind, 'cause you know me well, better than a poise when you're buzzed. Warm hands know how to touch. Got a lot of love. Who would have thought I'd find the loving so good? Sure took your time, but now I'm just in the mood. We got a little love, baby. Sure got a little love. Up later on time, you give me love, love, love. Mouthful of words of mine, you give me love, love, love. Remember when you hurt yourself and baby all your teeth fell out. Your mind was kinda heading south. I gave you love, love, love. Who would have thought I'd find the loving so good? Sure took your time, but now I'm just in the mood. We got a little love. Sure got a little love, my baby. Oh. So good, my baby. Give me love, so good, give me love. So good, so good. You got little love, my baby. Who would have thought I'd find the loving so good? Sure took your time, but now I'm just in the mood. We got a little love. Sure got a little love, baby.
I love hearing voices when the music stops. You can hear the snaps. Katie Tupper and Little Love on CBC.
Festive season, there's one place to be with your holiday favorites on CBC. Whether you're a Grinch, hate, double hate, or full of cheer.
Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together.
The season's best are waiting right here.
The bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.
For holiday joy from start to end. Watch free on CBC and CBC Gem.
It's 11 minutes now to 7 o'clock on CBC, live in downtown Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for joining us here on our show. Coming up in the next hour of Information Radio, we're going to talk to an addiction specialist for their reaction to the look of the rooms at Manitoba's new 72-hour detox facility. Some have looked at the rooms, white walls, bright lights, a metal sink, and a toilet, simple rooms, and they said it reminds them of prison cells, and they're taking exception with it. But this doctor says that this could actually help someone's recovery. So there's something behind the design that could help. So we're going to hear more about that. So that is coming up in the next hour of Information Radio. Also in the next hour of the show, nearly 10 months ago now, we were all encouraged in Canada to buy Canadian in response to the U.S. tariffs. And now with the holiday season upon us, the question is how many of us, how many Manitobans are going to be able to buy local this Christmas and are doing so? CBC's Jim Agapito hit the street to find out more about that, and so we'll hear some of those responses. Also in the next hour of Information Radio, in addition to hearing what people had to say about buying Canadian, we are also going to have an interview all about it with Tyler Slobodjan, who's the Prairies and North Senior Policy Analyst for the organization that is the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. So they're, of course, continuing to encourage people to buy local. So we have a busy hour ahead. Right now, though, let's talk about what's happening in Ottawa. As you might have heard in the news, it appears Ottawa and the Alberta government have reached a deal that could pave the way for a new pipeline to the west coast. CBC is reporting that both parties have agreed to the broad outlines, at least, of a memorandum and understanding that will give Alberta special exemptions from federal environmental laws. Multiple sources familiar with the plan say it could be, or would be rather, contingent on Alberta embracing a stricter industrial carbon pricing regime and a multi-billion-dollar investment in carbon capture. BC, though, not happy. For more on this, Ryan Tumulty is just hooked up with us via Zoom, reporter with the Toronto Star. Good morning.
Good morning.
So before we get to BC not happy, how significant is this deal, Ryan, if both parties follow through?
It's pretty significant, I would say. You know, it ends a lot of, frankly, tension and bad blood between Ottawa and Alberta that has gone back now 5 or 6 years at least. And certainly, I think it would be a big sign to Alberta that, Ottawa is willing to work with them a little bit more on their energy industry. But I think it would leave a lot of questions. And certainly, you talked about BC's objections. Those wouldn't be the only objections. And there'd be a lot of barriers still in place for any kind of pipeline project.
BC's objections are around largely consultation, and this is part of northern BC that for a long time, obviously, there's Indigenous communities up there as well that are saying that they're fearing they won't be consulted at all if this thing happens. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that the federal government has been very clear that any project through BC has to have BC on board, though they have said that BC doesn't necessarily get a veto. And they said they've also expected the Alberta government to consult with Indigenous communities and get those communities on board. I think that's going to be a challenge. You've heard what BC Premier David Eby has said, and certainly Indigenous communities along the Northwest Coast are not clamoring for this project, and I don't think they're that interested in it. So I think there's a lot of work left to be done for Alberta. But Ottawa would get a lot out of this. Ottawa would get a very strengthened carbon pricing regime from Alberta, and they'd get Alberta committing to a fairly massive carbon capture project in the Pathways project that would sequester a lot of the emissions from the oil sands. So it'll be interesting to see sort of how these different things get moved forward, and then everything else gets settled with the pipeline. There's still the question of the cost, which could be $20 or $30 billion, which is not easy to scare up.
In case people are wondering where Manitoba lands on some of these projects, in August, CBC reported our Premier Wab Kinew said it's too early here to study any new pipelines. He also said that he's trying to set his government apart here from neighboring provinces by talking about the fact that Indigenous communities from day one would have to be consulted should anything go through our province here, or if we were going to be a part of it. Not that this project is including us. I want to switch gears. It's kind of hard to believe it's been a week since the federal budget passed. Where are we at now in the process of implementing it?
Yeah, so last week what passed was really the concept of the budget. That was what that high stakes vote was about. Now we're into the budget implementation bill. That's where all the details lie. All of the tax changes that the government is proposing, the new programs, the new spending, the new authorities, they're all in that budget. And then there are sort of things that are really only tangibly related to the budget. So it's a 700-page piece of legislation. In there, you're also seeing provisions around the high-speed rail project in Ontario and Quebec, making it easier for that project to assemble land and do so quickly. So there's a lot going on there, I think, that's quite interesting. And I think, it is starting to move through the House, and I think the Liberals want to see it move quickly. They were stymied on their financial bills during the Trudeau era, especially late Trudeau era, and I think they're eager to avoid that kind of thing now.
What's top of the list for the Conservatives in terms of what they want to see changed or amended in the budget?
We haven't really heard anything beyond what they've said before. They haven't targeted any sort of specific line item in the budget. But, they have said they want a lower deficit and they want cuts to assorted programs. They want an end to industrial carbon pricing. So much of what they want in the budget, I don't think is going to happen.
In terms of what they're doing around the asylum seekers, there is a bill that is embedded in here, and there's criticism coming from not just the Conservatives, but the Bloc as well, right? Can you explain what's happening with that bill?
Yeah, so there's a separate piece of legislation, Bill C-12, that has been in the House of Commons for a while now. It's sort of the successor to a piece of legislation the government first introduced in the spring. It overhauls border security. It makes some big changes at the borders. It's sort of a response to the Trump administration. And then it has a whole bunch of changes to the asylum system. But the Conservatives don't think it goes far enough. The Conservatives really want to clamp down on the asylum system. So they're proposing that you wouldn't be able to claim asylum in Canada if you came to Canada, even transiting through another G7 country. You wouldn't be able to claim asylum in Canada, or you'd forfeit your claim if at any point during the process you went back to your home country. The benefits that asylum claimants receive would be cut off as soon as your claim was denied, even if you wanted to launch an appeal or something like that. So the general push of their move is to try to make the claim process more difficult, less generous, and that's sort of the push that they're making generally, I would say, on immigration right now.
And we'll see what the committee studying this bill is going to come out with. Thank you for your time this morning. I think there was a moment here where we asked about those who don't like the budget, and I could hear your kid crying, and I thought I thought it was perfect timing. I'm like, is that the Conservatives crying about the budget? All right, take care. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's Ryan Tumulty joins us live most Tuesday mornings here with some analysis of politics in Ottawa. He joined us live via Zoom. It is time to check in with Josh Crabb, who has joined us in our live studio right now with headlines.
Good morning. CO Silica held another open house in Winnipeg last night. The Alberta Mining Company is trying once again to get a license to extract sand from below the surface of the RM of Springfield. Tears formed in Jeremy Bray's eyes last night after learning the Manitoba government won't pay for his medical treatment. Bray has a neurological disease slowly taking away his ability to move his muscles. And there's a new innovation hub at Brandon's Assiniboine College, and it's bringing creators and tech experts together. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Josh Crabb is in for Heather Wells this morning. It's cloudy, -2 in Winnipeg. We'll only be around -1 today. We have a 30% chance we'll see some snow, and it's going to be windy and gusty, which will make it cold in your face. The commute's fine so far this Tuesday, 788-3093 if not. And I neglected to mention Ryan's title there, our last guest. Ryan Tumulty, he's a political reporter with the Toronto Star. In the next hour of the show, Christmas is 1 month away from today, and small businesses are hoping you'll support local. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business will talk about how critical the holidays are and local shopping is to them this year. Also, after years in operation, a local Christmas tree lot will no longer operate. We'll find out what's happening from the St. James Optimist Club. And then at 10 to 7 this morning, white walls, bright lights, a metal sink and toilet is what some of the rooms at Manitoba's new 72-hour detox facility look like. We had a first look this week. It has some people upset. They think it looks like a prison. But a doctor's perspective, an addiction specialist says that there's a reason behind the design. So we're going to hear more about that. That's in the next hour. Stay with us.
Today on The Current.
For 700,000 years, humans have been enthusiastic burners of things.
For decades, the American environmentalist Bill McKibben has been warning the world about the risks of climate change, but his new book is surprisingly hopeful, looking at the growth of solar power around the world. The power of the sun coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. CBC News has learned Ottawa and Alberta have agreed to the broad strokes of a potential new oil pipeline to BC's northwest coast. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith are supposed to make it official on Thursday in Calgary. They will sign a memorandum of understanding, and multiple sources say it will give Alberta special exemptions from federal environmental laws. But as Olivia Stefanovich reports, that does not guarantee the project will be built.
A heavy oil spill will decimate a $1.7 billion industry of fisheries and tourism.
Left out of talks between Alberta and Ottawa, British Columbia Premier David Eby says a new oil pipeline won't be easy to build in his backyard.
There's a reason why not one single pipeline company has said if the conditions are right, they would build it.
But in an attempt to smooth over the relationship with Alberta, CBC News has learned Ottawa is clearing the way to make the project possible. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith are set to sign a memorandum of understanding Thursday. Multiple sources briefed on the MOU say the agreement is expected to include carve-outs for Alberta on federal greenhouse gas regulations, in exchange for the province adopting stricter industrial carbon pricing and making a multi-billion-dollar investment in carbon capture.
The Alberta government has said they would like to be a proponent.
Energy Minister Tim Hodgson says the proposal will be evaluated the same as any other.
If they have the support of First Nations and they have support of the jurisdictions, we will work with them to clear whatever barriers there are.
That's where it gets tricky, with the prospect of a pipeline facing heavy opposition. The MOU is expected to include language around the need to engage with BC, along with equity and potential ownership for First Nations. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Despite days of diplomatic efforts to end Russia's war in Ukraine, overnight strikes have killed people in both countries. Today, U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi to discuss the U.S. proposed peace plan. The CBC's Crystal Gomansing is following developments.
Thunderous claps from drones hitting buildings and being shot down over Kyiv. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Skryba posted on social media that Russia gave its response to the American peace plan with a deadly barrage of missile and drone strikes. Russia was also hit. The Russian Defense Ministry says it shot down 249 Ukrainian drones. The U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, meanwhile, is in Abu Dhabi. Following meetings with Ukraine, he's sitting down with a Russian delegation.
We should really focus on the concessions that the Russians are going to make.
Kaja Kallas, the European Union's foreign policy chief, says as a part of any peace deal, Russia should be the one forced to downsize its military, ensuring it can't invade another neighbor in the future. Russia has its red lines, including permanent seizure of land, which Ukraine opposes, leaving little negotiating room. The coalition of the willing, led by the UK and France, will hold a conference call this afternoon. French President Emmanuel Macron told RTL Radio, "We want peace, but not for Ukraine to capitulate." He says he has no plans to go to the US with another European delegation to talk peace with President Donald Trump. Ukrainian officials, however, say President Volodymyr Zelensky could make the trip before the end of the month. Crystal Gomansing, CBC News, London.
Afghanistan's Taliban government is accusing Pakistan of launching overnight airstrikes in 3 of its eastern provinces. A government spokesperson says 9 children and a woman were killed. Pakistan's military and government have not commented on the allegation. Tensions between the neighboring countries increased a month ago. Afghanistan claimed drone strikes from Pakistan hit the capital, Kabul. For the first time ever, gig economy workers could be guaranteed minimum wage. Australia's transport union has drafted a deal with Uber Eats and DoorDash. It's designed to improve working conditions for food delivery workers. Utsav Bhattarai is one. He says the current standards are brutal.
You've worked 60 hours, just keep going. You don't have enough to pay your bills. Your legs are shaking, just keep going. Just one more order, one more hour, just need to keep going.
Under the draft agreement, gig workers will earn $31.30 per hour in Australian dollars. It is an increase of about 25% for people who are currently being paid per delivery. They will also be guaranteed injury insurance. If the deal is approved, it will take effect next July. A Nova Scotia mother is sounding the alarm about what children are accessing on school computers. She came forward after her 14-year-old daughter was targeted by online predators. Blair Rhodes has her story and a warning. Some of the details are disturbing.
It's kind of what initiated the whole blow up of this, noticing some cuts on her arms. Got her on some antidepressants because we believed it was depression related.
But the mother says she quickly discovered it was not depression, but rather her daughter was being groomed by online predators who were encouraging her to harm herself. We are concealing the mother's identity to protect her daughter. The mother says she checked the girl's Chromebook computer that had been given to her by the school.
What concerned me the most is some of the conversations that were taking place on it. Nothing was flagged or picked up by the school system itself. The language that was used, violence that was discussed, sexual conversations back and forth.
The mother immediately took her daughter out of school and took the computer to the RCMP. The Mounties Internet Child Exploitation Unit is extracting data from the laptop to see if they can determine who's behind the online communications. Students across Nova Scotia have access to Chromebooks, and school districts insist there are safeguards to block access to dangerous online content. But the girls' school admitted in an email to parents that students are finding workarounds for those safeguards.
I went back and forth with myself, like, am I just being overprotective? Am I maybe reading this wrong? Like, is this worth taking to the RCMP?
The mother says she no longer has those doubts, and she's now homeschooling her daughter. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada is entering another RSV season. The respiratory illness can be especially dangerous for babies. But as health reporter Lauren Pelly tells us, experts say vaccine rollouts in recent years are making a big difference.
When I undid her sleeper, I could tell that she was pulling indrawing underneath her ribs.
Katrina Bellevance's 7-week-old daughter couldn't stop coughing. On that night in 2023, the Calgary mother realized her newborn was also struggling to breathe.
It was so sudden that in that moment we knew we had to get her to the hospital as soon as possible.
Bellevance's daughter was diagnosed with respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. She spent 4 days on oxygen in the hospital.
RSV might not be a household term for many families, but in pediatrics and in general practice, it is the number one cause of hospitalization year in, year out in children during their first year of life.
Pediatrician Dr. Jesse Papenburg hopes that will change. Data from Quebec showed the province's first immunization program using monoclonal antibody shots for infants was a success, likely preventing half the usual RSV-associated hospitalizations. Papenburg says a recent review of real-world data from abroad showed similar results.
And what they found was that over 80% effective at reducing the risk of emergency department visits due to RSV, hospitalizations due to RSV.
There are also vaccines available to mothers during pregnancy, which can offer protection to infants as well. But access to these new tools varies across the country. Medical experts say more awareness and uptake is needed, since RSV cases are climbing again in Canada. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Celebrated author Thomas King says he is not Indigenous as he had believed all his life. King wrote books from an Indigenous perspective, including Green Grass Running Water, The Truth About Stories, and The Inconvenient Indian. Here he is speaking to CBC in 1993.
Simply, I want to talk about that side of Native life that is tenacious, that has sort of gotten us through all these years, that sense of humor, that spirit of community. That's what I want to do in my novels.
In an essay for the Globe and Mail published yesterday, King details how he learned of rumors questioning his Cherokee ancestry and spoke to a genealogist to get to the bottom of it. The 82-year-old says this revelation is devastating, and he did not purposefully pretend to have Indigenous roots. That is the latest national and international news from World Report News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba, and welcome to Tuesday. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live in Studio 15 at CBC. And it's going to be crisp out there if you're waiting for the bus. We're going to get into your forecast in a moment. This hour on the show, we're talking Christmas, specifically some things that aren't happening. The St. James Optimist Club will not be selling trees this year. We're going to hear from a club member about why that's happening. Also, today is a month until Christmas, and nearly 10 months ago, across Canada, we were encouraged to buy Canadian in response to U.S. tariffs. CBC's Jim Agapito hit the street to find out if people are still keeping that habit. We also are going to have a conversation with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business about what their hopes are going into the holiday season. And they have some statistics as well from local businesses about what they're seeing for sales. And at 10 to 8 this morning, an addiction specialist is going to weigh in on the look of the rooms at Manitoba's new 72-hour detox facility. Some have said it reminds them of prison cells, but there may be a reason behind the design. So we're going to talk to the doctor about why the stark walls, bright lights, metal sink and toilet, the simplicity of the rooms could actually be something that helps in someone's recovery. So that conversation's happening just before 8 o'clock. Josh Crabb is in for Heather Wells this morning and has our headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Alberta Mining Company company CO Silica held an open house in Winnipeg last night. It comes amid a second effort to obtain a license to extract sand from below the surface of Manitoba. A 30-year-old with a degenerative disease has learned his plea for provincial coverage fell short. Jeremy Bray has type 2 spinal muscular atrophy, which gradually robs him of his ability to move his muscles. Why the province says it won't pay for his treatment. And a new lab at Assiniboine College is bringing together creativity and entrepreneurship. Makers get together and get hands-on experience with everything from 3D printing to sewing to digital design. Your next local CBC News is at 7:30.
All right, Josh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Abby, I just noticed some light freeze and drizzle starting up around Thompson. That'll make the drive kind of nasty.
Definitely, that will make the drive really nasty for a bunch of folks up there. I'm looking at cloudy conditions across the province this morning, and I see light snow popping up in a few southern spots already, while the north is going to stay cold without overcast and that snow that we've seen show up in the Thompson area. But right now, Winnipeg, we're still at -2. We're going to get that breezy north wind come our way with just that slim chance of light snow as we head near that high of -1 later today. For the southern regions, some regions will see periods of light snow beginning this morning, and that would end around the noon period before the transition to a mix of sun and clouds. Most regions down south seeing temperatures around -2 and -3. While farther north, the powerfully in front of Thompson Churchill, a colder day, -6. That's what we're seeing up there.
All right, I'll let you grab the traffic lights.
I'll do that.
Tell me in my ear if there's an issue. Meantime,
Sure.
Corey, what do you know?
Yeah, so for right now, what we know is that we just got a call from Julie, actually. So the northbound Slaw Rebchuck Bridge, or the Salter Bridge, also known. There's a stopped police car in the right lane, right on the bridge. So keep left to get around that. She said it's starting to back up a little bit there in the right lane. Also got a call, and the line dropped, but I got enough information from the caller to say that northbound Archibald, right outside the co-op, so just before Marion, there is a stalled car flat with four ways flashing. And then Highway 16, if you're going there, it's starting some light snow right now, so poor visibility between Russell and Shoal Lake. Thanks for that call, Chris. If you do see anything going on out there, you can give me a call on the CBC community line. Did you hear anything there, Marcy?
That call's about the stall in Archibald.
Okay, there we go.
So
okay.
a couple people noticing that it's kind of an annoying spot, I think.
Okay, I think so. If you have any details on anything like that, you can give us a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
Well, it's November 25th. In 1 month, it will be Christmas Day. It means malls are frankly already bustling with holiday shoppers. For the last year, though, we have been encouraged to be buying local, specifically Canadian, in response to U.S. tariffs. But how many people will still be thinking about that, buying local this holiday season? CBC's Jim Agapito asked that question to some Winnipeggers, including Dustin Ezernicki.
Yes, I'll be going to McNally Robson to get them not only gift cards, but I've got book ideas. And they got everything there. They got music, they got, toys, they've got everything. There's a lot of craft sales going on right now. So you can get everything here without even leaving the city. Without even driving, you could, it's great.
Kathy, Ruth here.
Will you be buying local this Christmas?
Yes, I will be.
And why is that?
I really think we need to support our local businesses. They're all struggling with tariffs and etc. And I think a little bit of home at Christmas is special.
My name is Mark Ladaris. It's a combination of yes and no. Again, you got to support local businesses, but at the same time, when you got those big Amazon deals, a Black Friday coming around, I think we're lucky in Canada now that we got Black Friday here. But yes, I'll be trying to buy as much local as I can.
My name's Emily Nordel. Definitely would prefer to buy local this Christmas, just to support the community. But of course, there's lots of inflation and stuff going on, so it'd be best to buy affordable things.
Okay, so what are some of the items that you're thinking of purchasing locally, and for who?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm planning on going to craft stores, homemade crafts, like going to the bazaars or whatever they're
craft
called.
markets.
Yeah, craft markets. That's the word I want. Probably for my daughter-in-laws and sons. Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be little shops. My wife, my little kids, they like going to all the little pop-up markets and stuff, getting gifts and such. Otherwise it's just a lot of Canadian businesses. Things that are going to be supporting businesses. Groceries, with a lot of grocery stores having local Canadian flag tags on there, we like to, shop specifically Canadian made and Canadian produced.
Like my family, my family likes to drink a lot, so I like to buy them alcohol. So it's obviously a lot cheaper to go to the LC to buy liquors and stuff like that than buying local.
Is there anything on their list right now that you're looking that's local?
Oh, geez, nothing specific that I could think of. The little ones haven't really gotten us their Christmas list, but the big thing is I got 2 of them under 10 years old. They're very big with the internet, so they can't really tell the difference between what is local and what isn't. Other than the fact that again, we like to visit up a lot of those pop-up shops, a lot of those pop-up markets. And they bring their birthday money, their little $20, $30, and they like purchasing from those guys over there.
Okay, I know Black Friday is coming up, so I'm wondering, are you in the habit now of looking at that maybe locally or not? I'm curious.
I don't know. I guess it's a little bit hard because a lot of the commercials and advertisements you see are for big block chains versus local. So it's a little bit hard to distinguish what you would and wouldn't purchase based on that criteria. But
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business, or CFIB, is kicking off their holiday shopping campaign this weekend with Small Business Saturday. The CFIB says 3 in 10 Manitoba small businesses depend on holiday sales. Tyler Slobodjan's been listening in to Jim's conversation with Winnipeggers about trying to shop local. He's the Prairies and North Senior Policy Analyst for the organization. He's here via Zoom. Hi to you.
Hi, thank you.
A lot of buts in there, hey? People saying, I'd like to shop local, but, or you're working against, things like Amazon or, kids seeing ads all over the internet. How do you push back against that and encourage people to buy local?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely encouraging to hear that many people are looking to shop local this Christmas. I guess one thing I would say is that, if you, unless you actually go into the business or look online, many of these small businesses do have these, incredible Black Friday deals. Roughly over 50% had said that they were going to put on some sort of holiday marketing campaign and sales campaign. So, I think that the more you go into these businesses, the more you shop at them, the more deals you'll find at them as well.
Tell me about a bit of the data. 65% of small businesses expect sales to remain flat is one of the numbers that stayed with me. And that's Manitoba data, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. 65% expect to remain flat. 30% are really counting on the upcoming holiday sales, as they look forward to, not even just Christmas, but the next year as well. And 11% expect lower sales revenue this year than last year. So obviously it's been a very challenging year for small businesses across Canada. Obviously, we've seen a bit of an uptick in, people really trying to shop Canadian amid, the US-Canada trade battle. And we really want to see that trend continue.
Do we know when we hear those numbers, Tyler, do we know, I know this is a complicated question. Businesses are all different kinds of sizes when we say small business and such. But I'm just curious, if a business is going to stay flat, how important is the holiday season to their viability in the future? Or if you're going to lose 11%, that was the number for losses, how much of a margin do businesses build in for their survival?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, they're always working. Our members are typically working with very slim margins. So, the 65% remaining flat, I think many of them would make it through. But, to really boost their revenue, their, sales, I think this campaign and Small Business Saturday that's coming up on November 29th is really to encourage and really bring them, past that just point of survival. We're really trying to help them as much as we can. And, we've got a lot of resources on our website at smallbusinesseveryday.ca. There's actually a really cool thing on our website where you can look at a map, an interactive map, and see all the small businesses in Winnipeg across Manitoba and, exactly where you want to shop.
What's the difference in your view over last year? Obviously, last year people were encouraged to buy local, and then 10 months ago, with the U.S. tariffs coming in, a lot of people really leaning into that. What's your sense this year? Are businesses more or less concerned than they were heading into last holiday season?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I think, many are more concerned this year than they were last year. It's been a whirlwind, like I've said, for small businesses across Canada. Not only have they dealt with the trade war, they've also dealt with many, Canada Post strikes. Inflation isn't helping. The cost of everything is going up. That's the number one constraint for businesses' growth is the amount that it costs to do business in Manitoba. And then consumer spending has been on the downturn for, the last 10 years. So, all of these factors kind of coming together and creates a perfect storm for small businesses. We really hope that this holiday season, many people will support local when they can.
I know that you have 5,000 members across Manitoba in terms of businesses, and they will be involved in this Saturday, Small Business Saturday. You mentioned online sort of some interactive features and things. What else do you want shoppers to know about this Saturday?
Yeah, it's ultimately an initiative to help people go out and shop local, support local where they can. We've obviously we have a big social media campaign, so that's what we're really looking to. We want people to be posting on social media, recommending your favorite small businesses for your friends, your neighbors. We've also sent out a challenge to many of the politicians in Manitoba, and we hope to see some posts from them on social media encouraging to shop local. But ultimately, it's just an awareness campaign. We really hope to bring awareness on really how much this means for small businesses, the holiday season, but also this Saturday.
Remind us again of the website or the best place for people to go on socials to find information about Small Business Saturday.
So smallbusinesseveryday.ca or our website at cfib.ca, and I encourage everybody to post on social media about your favorite small business.
Thank you so much for being with us live this morning on CBC. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
On Zoom live, that's Tyler Slobodjan with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business.
I'm Suresh Das. I've spent my career writing about the local favorites that make Canada's food scene truly unique. I've been into a chili. Woo! From vibrant street food to comforting traditional dishes.
The most important ingredients in jollof rice, love.
To innovative, personal twists.
Butter chicken lasagna. Butter chicken lasagna. Yeah. That's what made it all happen.
I believe every bite tells a story. Now, I want to share those stories with you.
New series Locals Welcome with Suresh Das. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Sometimes marketing isn't obvious, like when 40 specialists talk turkey every December, or why a thirsty English band chose a moody name,
Nights in white satin,
or how an American came to coach a UK soccer football team.
I've never met someone that doesn't eat sugar.
Hiding in plain sight, it's all marketing on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly, Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
-2, cloudy in Winnipeg, cloudy and -2 in Brandon as well. In Thompson, light freezing drizzle, and it's -6. Julie called the commuter line with something causing an issue in the city. Eastbound Notre Dame, just before Arlington, is down to just the 2 right lanes. Some kind of construction is happening, we're hearing. Crews were moving some barricades around as she drove by, so this could even already have changed. But at the time she called, she said it was backed up to McPhillips. She said you weren't able to turn left on Arlington, so that's her report on our commuter line this morning. We also heard reports of a stalled car around the co-op on Arlington, if you can visualize where that is. And then southbound Salter, the bridge, Slawrebchuk Bridge there, you lose your curb lane as well. So apparently that's backed up as well to Selkirk this morning. So there may be some early morning traffic affecting the bridge. All of that's coming through the commuter line. Call Corey, 788-3093. Still ahead, a local Christmas tree lot will no longer operate this year. We're going to talk to a member of the St. James Optimist Club about why that's happening.
We are very, very grateful for all the people who have come by. Really, we've had hundreds of people every year come by.
So no more trees will be sold. We're going to find out more about what happened. Right now, let's go to morning sports. Scott Reguera is with us. Hello to you.
Hey, Marcy.
So let's start with curling. There have been some interesting developments now midway through the Canadian Olympic trials.
Yeah, there have. With Carrie Anderson's the lone unbeaten rink in the women's draw, Marcy. A win yesterday over fellow Manitoban Caitlin Laws has Anderson sitting at 4-0 en route. She's been incredibly accurate, out-curling her opposing skips by at least 5 percentage points a game. But her whole revamped squad has been on the mark this week. Second, Shannon Burchard is back from a knee injury that kept her out of most of last season. And then there's the change at lead. Although Brianne Harris was found not at fault for an anti-doping violation, she was replaced at the position by Carly Burgess. Here's Anderson.
It definitely feels nice to have some consistency. It's like having a brand new front end again. Yeah, everyone was surprised of how our season started off, but I was like, I really wasn't, because we were still just trying to figure things out. And I also didn't want to peak that early. So I think we're in a good spot right now.
They are indeed, and a doozy of a match is scheduled for tomorrow, Marcy, against the favorite to skip Canada at the Olympics, Rachel Homan. Meantime, it is tough to pick a favorite among the men so far. There are 3 former Olympians competing, as well as Matt Dunstone, who is the only unbeaten team remaining in the men's draw.
Basketball, the Raptors are unbeaten now in 8 games.
Yeah, after a win over Cleveland last night, where Brandon Ingram was just great offensively. He had 37 points, which is his highest total in about a year and a half. Of course, much of that time, Ingram was out with an ankle injury, during which he was traded to the Raptors by New Orleans. Ingram was asked what the best part of playing for Toronto has been so far.
I guess Darko coming in the locker room yelling. He brings the energy every single day. He's the leader of our team. He makes sure that we bring it to practice, to games, to shoot-arounds. He makes sure that we have it every single time we step on the basketball floor. So that's, for me, the best part about being here, and just our coach is present every single day.
Winning's kind of nice, too. And at 13-5, the Raptors, Marcy, are off to their best start since around the time they won a certain championship. You heard Ingram say he loved how present his coach Darko Rajakovic is every day. Online, many are comparing the positive vibes around this team and the hands-on coaching to John Schneider and the Blue Jays. The early days. One game at a time.
I was thinking it, though. Yeah, maybe time to dust off the We the North shirt. All right, let's finish with soccer. Yeah. Remember those? Yeah. In soccer, it's not often a team that wins a match after its players have been fighting each other during it.
Yeah, that's right. But that's what happened in a Premiership game yesterday, Marcy, between Everton and Manchester United. Just 13 minutes in, Everton's Idrissa Gueye was furious with fellow defender Michael Keane for failing to pick up a pass. Keane then shoved Gueye, who responded by slapping his teammate in the face. The ref pulled out a red card and sent Gueye off for violent conduct. Astonishingly, Everton still found a way to beat United despite playing a man short. Even more astonishingly, Everton manager David Moyes seemed to relish it all.
Yes, he's apologised to the dressing room. No problem, we move on from it. Disappointed it happened. But I was also quite pleased. Quite pleased they were fighting each other, because it showed me that they cared. If we hadn't got that fight and that resilience like what they showed, we'd have never get through the rest of the game.
This one, Marcy, is going to be tough to explain to my sons next time they're threatening to duke it out playing soccer, table soccer in the basement.
Right.
If the professionals are doing this, Dad, what's wrong?
He slapped him in the face.
It's like, what?
It's incredulous. I'm not laughing because it's like it's incredulous. It's
I know.
What a clip from the coach.
Says,
how
yeah,
odd.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Very odd. All right, thanks, Scott. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Scott always gives us something to think about, right? Scott Regehr with Morning Sports. Coming up in the next half hour of Information Radio, as I mentioned, we're going to hear from the St. James Optimist Club about why they won't be selling Christmas trees after doing it many years in our community. Right now, though, your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. At 7:30, it's cloudy and -2 downtown, cloudy and -5 in the Pop, cloudy and -6 in Churchill. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb. A 30-year-old with a degenerative disease has learned his plea for provincial coverage fell short. Jeremy Bray has type 2 spinal muscular atrophy, which gradually robs him of his ability to move his muscles. He met with Health Minister Uzoma Asseguera yesterday, hoping the province would pay for his medical treatment, but they didn't change their mind. Asseguera says Manitoba won't overrule Canada's drug agency. It doesn't recommend the treatment for adults over 25, citing a lack of evidence. But Jeremy's father, Darren, considers that an excuse.
They say it's not about money, but it is. They're hiding behind the very loose recommendation from the CDA that they could easily approve Jeremy today.
Bray says other provinces have made exceptions. Jeremy is currently on the treatment because the drug company is giving it to him for free, but that coverage will come to an end soon. Alberta mining company CO Silica held an open house in Winnipeg last night. It comes amid a second effort to obtain a license to extract sand from below the surface of Manitoba. Supporters and opponents attended the event, held in a meeting room at Club Regent Casino Hotel. Oakbank resident Daryl Spear says he doesn't want the province to approve the license. He says he remains concerned mining will cause water from a sandstone drinking aquifer to mix with the contents of a less potable limestone aquifer closer to the surface.
The initial application was indicating that there was going to be thousands of wells drilled to impact these two aquifers. And now it's been scaled back, but we still have the same problem. Those aquifers are going to intermix.
People attending the event were asked whether they supported or opposed the project. At least 7 people have been killed in the latest round of airstrikes on Kiev. That's firefighters helping people out of a damaged apartment building in the Ukrainian capital. Ukrainian officials say Russia launched 22 missiles and more than 450 drones in last night's wave of attacks across the country. At the same time, in southern Russia, officials say a Ukrainian strike killed 3 people and damaged a number of homes. In the midst of this ongoing back and forth, the international push to end the war continues today. U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi to further discuss a U.S. peace plan, and the Coalition of the Willing, which includes Canada, is meeting virtually today. One of the most celebrated writers in Canada has just revealed he's not Indigenous. Thomas King has written more than a dozen books. He won the Stephen Leacock Medal for humor, and he's a companion of the Order of Canada. But the 82-year-old now says he's not Cherokee, despite believing so nearly all his life. King's work was turned into a beloved comedy show on CBC Radio's Dead Dog Cafe.
Maybe you think that Dead Dog Cafe Comedy Hour is a dumb name for the show.
The program ran 4 seasons in the late 1990s. King is based in Guelph, Ontario, but was born in California. In a Globe and Mail essay, he says he never intended to mislead the public. A new innovation hub has opened up in Brandon's Assiniboine College. It brings creators and tech experts together. Coordinator Derek Ford says the lab offers creators hands-on experience in a shared space. He says it's helping grow creative industries in Western Manitoba so people don't have to leave to find work.
It's not strictly for Assiniboine graduates. There's a lot of amazing people in the region that have traditional skills, new skills, all sorts of creative ideas to share.
Ford says the CoLab is structured to include industry groups, entrepreneurs, creatives, and others. When someone joins, they'll be matched with other people who have similar areas of interest, including 3D printing, sewing, or digital design. And a longtime seller of Christmas trees in Winnipeg is no more. The St. James Optimist Club has stopped running its fundraising tree lot outside the Assiniboine Golf Club, not because of a lack of trees, but a lack of volunteers. Optimist member Bob Miori has helped sell trees since the mid-1970s. He says their volunteer base is dwindling.
The club has gotten so small, and some of us have gotten pretty aged. I'm 84, almost 85. Some of us have heart conditions, and some of us are frail. Some of us can't lift the trees. It was tough to get somebody to work from either 10 in the morning till 6 or 7 at night.
You can hear more from Bob Miori coming up on Information Radio. And that is CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 8:30.
All right. Thanks very much, Josh.
You're welcome.
And we will talk to Bob in just a moment here. First, though, let's get into our regional forecast with Abby Adiemi.
Yeah, a cloudy day across the province with light snow popping up in parts of the south. Already the north is staying cold, and we're seeing light drizzle in Church and Thompson at this time. -2 in Winnipeg, breezy north wind, a slight chance of light snow through the day as we head to a high near -1. In the Pembina Valley region, Morden, Winkler, Alton, Memorial, Floris, Headingley, Port of La Prairie, we're looking at -2 at this time. Expect light snow in that part of the province with a breezy north wind pushing your high near -1 later today. For Brandon towards Napoa, we're seeing cloudy conditions there, -2 at this time. Snow expected in that part of the province to taper off around midday. Then you see a mix of sun and clouds. You also warm up to about -1 before dipping to -10 tonight. In the Parkland region, Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, we're looking at -3 there. Light breezy north winds. Our high will be around -2, and then some partly cloudy conditions tonight before you drop to -10 overnight. But you get to see a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow. For the Interlake region, we're seeing -2 in Gimli at this time. Breezy north winds, also a slight chance of flurries in the forecast this afternoon. Highs around -2. Flim Flam -8 at this time. Thompson -6 with freezing a drizzle. Expect light snow on and off through the day. You warm up to about 5 later before slipping to -9. While in Churchill, we're seeing -6 at this time. Light snow on its way, and you just hold steady around -6. So Winnipeg, we are at -2 at this time.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Abby Adeyemi covers weather on the program. He's also our tech on the show. And Corey Funk has popped in after picking up the traffic line this morning quite a bit.
Yeah, a few things going on out there. Let's start on the Salter Bridge or Slaw Rebchuck Bridge. Southbound, the curb lane is closed right now, so you have to go left to get around that. Heard from Jim that's actually is backed up all the way to Selkirk at this point, so quite slow going on the Salter Bridge. As well, Julie called to say eastbound Notre Dame, heading just before Arlington, construction crews seem to be doing something there, and they've kind of blocked off the far left lane, so you kind of got to stay right to get around that. You can't actually turn left onto Arlington, and it looks like they were kind of moving some barricades around, so that might change, but that's the last update we got about eastbound Notre Dame, and as you can imagine, quite backed up there as well. Also heard about a stalled car northbound Archibald, right outside the co-op there before Marion. Didn't quite get which lane. We lost connection, but there might be causing some backups there on northbound Archibald heading towards Marion. As for the highways, heard a couple things. Kyle says Highway 83 from Melita to Verdun, they're starting to see some snow. It's actually snow covered. He usually goes 100, but he's actually going down to 60 right now. So we are in snowy highway conditions right now in far western Manitoba this morning. As well as some light snow on Highway 16 between Russell and Shoal Lake. And there might be a little bit snowy on the highways on Highway 6 between Wiboden and Thompson as well. If you see anything else though going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk to Bob Miori from the St. James Optimist Club. As you heard in the news, they've been selling trees there since the 70s, but this year they're not operating their lot. It's just getting a bit too much for the volunteers, and it's a tradition, though, for a lot of people. So good morning, Bob. Thanks for being with us. Hi, Bob. I think we've probably lost Bob during the news there. So just to fill you in here, in case you missed the news story, they've been selling trees for a long time, the Optimist Club. It was a fundraiser. It was a tree lot outside the Assiniboine Golf Club. Maybe you bought a tree there. It's not a lack of trees that caused this issue. As I mentioned, it's a lack of volunteers. And they have had some challenges as their volunteer base is dwindling. It's also some long hours for the members. And the club has not been attracting new members to grow. And so they've decided that this year they will not be selling their trees. Bob Miori is a longtime member of the club, and he is on the line with us. Hi, Bob.
Hello, good morning.
So how much are you going to miss about selling these trees?
Well, I'm going to miss a lot. I'm going to miss the selling of the trees for the club, but I'm going to really miss the community that comes along to say hello.
Yeah, I bet. So tell me some of the stories that are staying with you about folks over the years that got their trees from you guys.
Well, I definitely remember the time that a lady came back. We gave her a free tree one year because she seemed not to be able to afford a nice tree. She was looking at really lesser quality. So very quietly, we gave her a tree. And the next year, she came back and gave us enough money and asked us to give it to somebody that also could not afford the tree the next year. So that was really, when I think of that, I get tears in my eyes some of the times. And that was really great. Another thing that was nice, we've had some seniors, some grandmas, bring back their granddaughters. Said, you used to sell me trees a long time ago, and I brought my daughter here. Now I'm bringing my granddaughter because I want her to meet you and to see the trees and buy the trees.
That multi-generational thing is really nice, isn't it, when it happens at the tree lot?
It happens more than I know because I can recognize people and their kids, but I'm not positive, so I don't say anything. And another thing that's happened the last several years, I realized I keep asking people if they have a camera, and then I realize they had their phone. So if they come in a family group, or especially with kids in arms, or the younger generation, I ask would they like a picture among the trees, and they say, "Oh, I never thought of that." So I want them to make sure they have a memory.
So this is obviously about the tree lot not being able to run, but really the bigger story here might be that you guys are having trouble attracting some new members. Tell me about that.
Well, we try to attract members, but they don't stay with the club. I don't know what the reason is. I guess they're just not interested in what we're doing during the time that we're not selling trees, because we really just have meetings and decide what we're going to give to, and we just have meetings for friendship. Not everybody shows up for a meeting. I mean, sometimes it might only be 5 people or 4 people, all told, at a meeting. Other times we have 9. So it's very sporadic, and we never know what to reserve for a table at the restaurant. But age is one thing, and ability is another. We have some of our group that just aren't able to lift the trees. Last year, I could not lift an 8-foot tree anymore. And yet we had somebody who was not a member, a young lady who is the daughter of a member, who was able to handle it no trouble at all. So other times we need 2 people to lift the tree, and that's unfortunate.
What's the challenge then to the club then? Because the tree sales were the major fundraiser for the club, and you said you have dwindling membership. So what does the future of the club look like?
We have money in the bank, so we're going to continue to give out the things that we are doing for donations to the schools, the track club, the golf course, the scholarships, and keep our eyes and ears open for things that we want to do in the St. James area. The motto of the club is Friend of Youth, so that's the majority of what we do. Sometimes we do things for seniors, for the firefighters burn, the ladies at the hospital, on the birthing room and stuff like that, or the nursing room. But mainly we're interested in Friend of Youth and trying to do something in the community that way.
Well, so you'll stay community-minded moving forward. I wonder what your message is to people who are just maybe hearing the news that you're not going to have the tree lot operating this year.
Well, really, that we enjoyed having them. We're so grateful that they supported us for so many years. I've been with the tree lot since 1973, and I just missed 1 year, and the people were just so great. I mean, we had very, very few problems, and we had the thing in mind that if they didn't like a tree, they could come back and exchange it for another, and they really appreciated that. And just the fact that we had so many friends come by, but even though we had a flyer that invited people to come, and we had some telephone numbers, nobody showed up.
Just didn't work out this year. Didn't work out that way.
It didn't work out that way at all. So it's very good. A lot of maybe the club was too passive for them. They wanted to do something all through the year, but it just didn't work out. We do things. We could have done a lot more, but our numbers. Even though we have the track meet, we were allowed to go down there, and we were encouraged to go on down and help with the track meet some way, but only one of us did.
Got it. So it's just been dwindling as at the different events that you're mentioning that the Optimist Club used to support. Obviously, it's given had a lot of impact on your life, and will continue to as you give to the community with that money in the bank, as you said.
Oh, yes.
Where can people find out more about the Optimist Club, given that the club will still, I guess, effectively be around? If someone's listening and they say, you know what, that might be good to join something like that to give back to community, maybe they're from St. James because you look geographically at the neighborhood that you like to support, where might they find out more information, Bob?
If they went to the Facebook or the phone directory, I guess they don't have a real directory anymore. Not all the clubs have information, but there are still some around, and they can just look that up and call them and find out from that club what area that there will be some work to be done.
Yep.
Some Optimist clubs, and they can direct themselves to that.
So I better be clear here. You guys aren't wrapping it up entirely. You're just wrapping up the lot. Like if someone's interested in St. James, could they still join your club?
They could, yes. And yes, we are not wrapping it up.
Thank you so much, Bob, for being with us this morning and telling us about some of the memories. Were lovely that you shared about people paying it forward and the multi-generations coming to the tree lot.
I'm smiling now, but thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marcy.
Bob Miori with us. Member of the St. James Optimist Club. Their organization won't be able to sell their Christmas trees this year. It's been a tradition since the mid-70s.
My winter nights are taken up by static, stress, and holiday shopping traffic. But I close my eyes and I'm somewhere else, just like magic. In my heart is a Christmas tree farm where the people would come to dance under sparkling lights, bundled up in their mittens and coats, and the cider would flow. And I just want to be there tonight. Sweet dreams of holly and ribbon, mistakes are forgiven, and everything is icy and blue. And you would be there too, under the mistletoe. Is a Christmas tree farm, there's a light in the barn. We'd run inside out from the cold. In the town, kids are dreaming of sleighs, and they're warm and they're safe. They wake to see a blanket of snow. Sweet dreams of holly and ribbon, mistakes are forgiven, and everything is icy and blue. And you would be there too, under the mistletoe. Watching the fire glow and telling me I love you.
You're either smiling ear to ear right now or you're hating us. You're turning the radio down. I know. We got a month to go to Christmas. We just had an interview about a Christmas tree farm, Christmas tree lot, that is. So I thought it was appropriate to roll a little Taylor Swift on this Tuesday, November 25th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You're on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. It's cloudy -2. We might see some snow this afternoon. We have a 30% chance in Winnipeg. I also just want to mention when it comes to snow, Corey's been getting some calls around Westman, very snowy, even around the Russell-Roblin area specifically, and even further west. So just take it easy on the highways. People are significantly dropping speeds to stay safe. Well, next on the show, heartbreaking and disappointing. Those are actual words people are using to describe the new 72-hour detox facility that's slated to open at the end of the month in Winnipeg. Sunday, more than 100 people protested outside the Manitoba Legislative Building about it. They're calling on the province to reconsider the approach to recovery after media got a tour of the facility last week. So Joseph Fourie was among the protesters. He's a former addict. He spoke with CBC's Faith Fundal. This was his reaction when he saw pictures of what the new detox facility rooms look like.
Well, I think just looking at the layout and the design of it when I first saw, it kind of broke my heart because they just look like cells. I've been in jails and stuff like that, and the pure white walls, the stainless steel toilet. There really wasn't anything in there that gave me the impression that this was going to be a place where a person could look at recovery or even detox.
Joseph Forey with his point of view upon seeing images and video of the detox center, speaking to CBC's Faith Fundal yesterday. Now, for listeners who have not seen the photos, they were described there by Joseph. But in addition, I just want to mention the mainly white cement walls, and then there's bright lights in the rooms. They're about 3 by 3 meters, these rooms. There is that metal toilet and sink in the room, as Joseph described. The doors are gray, and they have a small window in each room here. Today, we are going to get another perspective on this. Dr. Jeanette Poulin is with us, who specializes in addiction medicine. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you've seen what these rooms look like. Given obviously this is your area of understanding, what was your reaction to them?
Yeah, I can certainly appreciate from the public eye why it can be appalling to some degree. But what I would highlight is from a medical perspective, what I see when I see this type of setting is really safety measures. So this is essentially set up like a high secure psychiatric unit, in that you've got the metal doors that I'm assuming are anti-barricade, meaning that the individual can't barricade themselves in, and people can have access to that. There are no things like objects that could be used as a weapon against themselves or against others. Certainly when we think about possibilities, these are things that come in there. It's very sterile appearing. And so from a public perspective or an individual's perspective, it can be shocking. What I would say is I'm hoping that there will be still actions that will be taken to help make it more dignified. For example, there are things like, anti-ligature, tear-resistant blankets and bedding that could be used. I do note that from the previous detox, which was a 24-hour, there are now beds and sinks, which is certainly an upgrade from previous location or services.
So what I'm hearing is that the low stimulus environment, as you're describing it, might be good for people not to have that around, and also for safety, but that there are things that are safe that you're hoping might be added to kind of warm things up, so to speak, and maybe be more the word I'm thinking of is human, but yeah. I'm not sure if that's the right word or not, but you're saying there are some improvements that could be made. What is it about a low stimulus environment that would work in addiction recovery?
So what I think is important here is when people, and when we look at the 72-hour edition, it's a change that's trying to reflect the current climate. So the old 24 hours is really modeled off an alcohol withdrawal approach. And we know in today's world, what we're seeing on the streets is a lot more toxic. And certainly the methamphetamine falls into that category. And so methamphetamine, as individuals either intoxicated or coming off, are at risk of certain things. And we've seen that on our streets today. And I think this is where this is meant to be a stopgap. And so really it's the safety of the individual and safety of those around them in that acute phase of withdrawal, meaning that a time when they're could be highly agitated, paranoid, go into full-blown psychosis with hallucinations and delusions. There are significant risks around safety. And so having no objects in the room that could be used for harm against oneself or others, having no stimuli, so having loud noises, blinking lights, things that can kind of trigger some of that paranoia or that fear within someone who's under the influence of methamphetamine can be critical because that can shift and increase their agitation significantly. So those would be important. But I would also add medically, what you can't see in the room, which certainly I hope is going to be part of the picture, is having those medical assessments and reassessments, needing to assess certainly all our vitals, but hydration. There are lots of pharmacotherapy and medications that are really important in that acute phase.
I just want to interject on that point. How often would a medical assessment need to be done when you're thinking about things like hydration and checking on people?
Yeah, in the acute initial phases, I would say about every 15 minutes would be important to get a good hold of that medical status and do that reassessment. And then certainly as things stabilize, that could be spaced out to Q, 30 minutes or Q an hour. But in the initial, you would want that every 15 minutes in a high acute state.
Can you help us understand, the idea around the locked door, which might seem like something that could agitate someone even further, and also around the bright lights? What might be medical thinking around designing a detox place with those things?
I think, and I can't say for certain, but I think those metal doors present kind of that anti-barricade, that potential that people can't, kick it or break it down.
Okay, so as you said earlier, so that's just an extension. If it's locked, it's safety. What about the lights, bright lights?
Yeah, I don't know if they dim. I would hope that they would have the capacity to dim to some degree, but here it's probably a balance between they need to have good visual insight or sight line, I should say, on individuals in the room, meaning that if someone is, hitting themselves or, punching the wall, that kind of thing, they need to be able to assess. Obviously, if someone is going down medically, they need to be able to have good visual sight line to see that. So I imagine that's where that's coming from, but I don't know if they dim, for example, to help provide more of that calming, soothing environment that is suitable for methamphetamine withdrawal support.
Just last, having understood facilities like this and looking at the design, the first look at this, are there places in Canada that are doing something different that we might think of emulating, or is it difficult? Maybe I shouldn't project that. Is it something that is evolving across Canada and understanding how to make these spaces, do their job and purpose in helping someone medically, but also maybe be warmed up, so to speak?
I would say this is an ongoing challenge, certainly here in Canada, but also elsewhere throughout the world. In the realm of mental health and addictions, there's always that balance, and first and foremost needs to be safety of the individual. And I hear a lot of talk around recovery. When we think about detox, I think this is important to note that this is really one step in a continuum, and this is not a long going, supportive withdrawal management into further care and treatment. This is that acute phase. And I think this does need to connect with the rest of that system. And, unfortunately, because of the complexity around capacities of individuals while they're intoxicated, during a time when illicit substances are so toxic, it is a challenge and it's a balance. And I don't think we have the perfect research. We don't have the perfect solutions
yet. Well,
to date, and we're learning as we go.
We will leave it there. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
Dr. Jeanette Poulin, who specializes in addiction medicine. With your top headline, here's Josh Crabb.
Good morning. We're hearing about a fire at a vacant home on Laura Street near the intersection of Salter and Logan. No one was hurt. And CO Silica held another open house in Winnipeg last night. The Alberta Mining Company is trying once again to get a license to extract sand from below the surface of the RM of Springfield. Your next local CBC News is at 8:30.
The death of a woman in Osborne Village marks Winnipeg's 9th pedestrian fatality this year. Coming up after 8, a conversation that builds on one we had yesterday about long-time pedestrian safety.
On cue. Joe Hill is a best-selling author who's written some of the most beloved and most terrifying novels of our time. He'll be here to talk about writing his first book in 10 years and handling the legacy of being the son of the legendary Stephen King.
Readers are pretty smart. They might buy your first book because you got a famous daddy, but if it's no good, they'll never buy the second one.
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
For decades, the American environmentalist Bill McKibben has been warning the world about the risks of climate change, but his new book is surprisingly hopeful, looking at the growth of solar power around the world. The Power of the Sun, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young.
Environmentalists and the energy industry are looking ahead to Thursday in Calgary. That is where Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith are expected to sign a memorandum of understanding. Sources tell CBC News the document will detail their support for a potential new oil pipeline to the BC coast. Let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, Alberta and BC are diametrically opposed on the issue of pipelines. Is the PM about to pick a side?
Marcia, this MOU risks kicking off a big fight with coastal First Nations by opening the door to exemptions to the ban on oil tanker traffic off British Columbia's sensitive northwest coast. And it would suspend the federal clean electricity regulations, move away from hard caps on carbon emissions from the oil and gas sector if Alberta signs on to a stronger industrial carbon price system, something that climate activists have long identified as critical. That much was previewed in the budget, but caveats and conditions remain for this new federal support. Here's Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson yesterday speaking to MPs at committee.
We have been clear with the proponents, if they have the support of First Nations and they have support of the jurisdictions, we will work with them to clear whatever barriers there are.
And what the Carney government hasn't said is what happens if that support does not come. This MOU is not the same as referring, fast-tracking, let alone approving a pipeline, and it doesn't seem to be a commitment to use new powers to ram through a pipeline no matter what.
What are the political risks for the federal Liberals in BC?
BC's Energy and Climate Minister Adrian Dix yesterday was reminding reporters that Danielle Smith has a party convention coming up this weekend and needs to keep Western separatists at bay. So cue the side-eye about what's really up with this deal.
The reason this is an MOU and not project support is there ain't no project.
If Carney really is about to risk projects that his major projects office has already prioritized in BC to support this big ask from the oil industry in his home province of Alberta, he's probably set for an earful from his own BC caucus too, that didn't believe they were elected to do this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Overnight strikes have killed at least 7 people in Ukraine. Firefighters guide people down the smoky stairwell of an apartment building in Kyiv. Ukraine says Russia launched 22 missiles and 460 drones across the country. Moscow says at least 3 people were killed in overnight attacks by Ukraine. As the destruction continues to play out on the ground, diplomats are gathering around tables to try to end the war. U.S. and Russian officials are meeting in Abu Dhabi today after days of discussions about a U.S. peace plan. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says Moscow has yet to receive any formal version of the plan, but he says it must respect the understanding reached between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin during their Alaska summit in August. A complaint has been filed against an RCMP officer in St. John's in relation to the arrest of a woman who has autism and an intellectual delay. As Ariana Kelland reports, the arrest happened while the Mountie was off duty and outside his jurisdiction.
Her spark is gone.
Melanie Burns says the 34-year-old woman she cares for hasn't been the same since an incident with a police officer last winter. The woman, who CBC News is not identifying, has autism, a seizure disorder, and intellectual delay. In late March, the woman and her respite worker visited the Pottle Centre, a social space for people with mental health challenges in St. John's. The woman wouldn't leave the computer she was using, and the centre was about to close. So a staff member of the Pottle Centre called her partner, an off-duty police officer.
My phone rang again. Melanie, this man is here and he's arresting her. And I said, he's arresting her? Like, what's he arresting her for? And she said, mischief.
Off-duty RCMP Constable David Benko physically removed the woman from the facility. But when the police force in that jurisdiction arrived, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, they declined to lay charges. Instead, they investigated Benko for assault, but closed the case without charges.
It could have been approached in a very different way.
Leah Farrell with the Autism Society of Newfoundland and Labrador says the initial handling of this incident underscores systemic failures.
It's important to be able to assess the situation and meet somebody where they're at.
The woman has mainly stayed in hospital due to her seizure disorder since this happened, though there's no evidence the incident is directly connected to her current condition. Meanwhile, Byrne is waiting to hear the results of the RCMP Civilian Complaint Commission's investigation. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Celebrated author Thomas King says he is not Indigenous as he had believed all his life. King wrote books from an Indigenous perspective, including Green Grass Running Water, The Truth About Stories, and The Inconvenient Indian. Here he is speaking to CBC in 1993.
Simply, I want to talk about that side of Native life that is tenacious, that has sort of gotten us through all these years, that sense of humor, that spirit of community. That's what I want to do in my novels.
In an essay for the Globe and Mail published yesterday, King describes how he learned of rumors questioning his Cherokee ancestry and spoke to a genealogist to get to the bottom of it. The 82-year-old says this revelation is devastating and he did not purposefully pretend to have Indigenous roots. A Nova Scotia mother is sounding the alarm about what children are accessing on school computers. She came forward after her 14-year-old daughter was targeted by online predators. Blair Rhodes has her story and a warning. Some of the details are disturbing.
It's kind of what initiated the whole blow up of this, noticing some cuts on her arms. Got her on some antidepressants because we believed it was depression related.
But the mother says she quickly discovered it was not depression, but rather her daughter was being groomed by online predators who were encouraging her to harm herself. We are concealing the mother's identity to protect her daughter. The mother says she checked the girl's Chromebook computer that had been given to her by the school.
What concerned me the most is some of the conversations that were taking place on it. Nothing was flagged or picked up by the school system itself. The language that was used, violence that was discussed, sexual conversations back and forth.
The mother immediately took her daughter out of school and took the computer to the RCMP. The Mounties Internet Child Exploitation Unit is extracting data from the laptop to see if they can determine who's behind the online communications. Students across Nova Scotia have access to Chromebooks, and school districts insist there are safeguards to block access to dangerous online content. But the girls' school admitted in an email to parents that students are finding workarounds for those safeguards.
I went back and forth with myself, like, am I just being overprotective? Am I maybe reading this wrong? Like, is this worth taking to the RCMP?
The mother says she no longer has those doubts, and she's now homeschooling her daughter. Blair Rhodes, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada is entering another RSV season. The respiratory illness can be especially dangerous for babies. But as health reporter Lauren Pelly tells us, experts say vaccine rollouts in recent years are making a big difference.
When I undid her sleeper, I could tell that she was pulling, indrawing underneath her ribs.
Katrina Bellevance's 7-week-old daughter couldn't stop coughing. On that night in 2023, the Calgary mother realized her newborn was also struggling to breathe.
It was so sudden that in that moment we knew we had to get her to the hospital as soon as possible.
Bellevance's daughter was diagnosed with respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV. She spent 4 days on oxygen in the hospital.
RSV might not be a household term for many families, but in pediatrics and in general practice, it is the number one cause of hospitalization year in, year out in children during their first year of life.
Pediatrician Dr. Jesse Papenburg hopes that will change. Data from Quebec showed the province's first immunization program using monoclonal antibody shots for infants was a success, likely preventing half the usual RSV-associated hospitalizations. Papenburg says a recent review of real-world data from abroad showed similar results.
And what they found was that over 80% effective at reducing the risk of emergency department visits due to RSV, hospitalizations due to RSV.
There are also vaccines available to mothers during pregnancy, which can offer protection to infants as well. But access to these new tools varies across the country. Medical experts say more awareness and uptake is needed, since RSV cases are climbing again in Canada. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live on CBC from Studio 15 in downtown Winnipeg. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and YouTube. Thanks for joining us here. We're getting some calls. Corey's been on the phone actually a lot today with traffic. So in some parts of Westman, really snowy, which is making you go slow. People are slowing their speeds. So he's going to talk more about that and also a couple of trouble spots in the city. Stay tuned. Well, speaking of traffic, if you have ever noticed an incline at an intersection, crosswalk or a roundabout, then you may have walked or driven through a raised intersection. We do have some of them here in Winnipeg. City Councillor Janice Lukes has several in her ward. She's going to tell us how they work and why she says they work as traffic calming measures. And we're talking a great deal about this because news broke yesterday that a woman in Osborne Village who was hit, a pedestrian, has died. She was Winnipeg's 9th pedestrian fatality this year. So we're going to talk more about how to keep all of us safe on the roadways. Stay tuned for that. Right now, let's go to Josh Crabb, who has developing news this morning.
Good morning. Crews were called to a fire at around 4:15 in a vacant home on Laura Street near the intersection of Salter and Logan. No one was hurt, but this is the third time that home has been damaged by fire since February 2024. Alberta mining company CO Silica held an open house in Winnipeg last night. It comes amid a second effort to obtain a license to extract sand from below the surface of Manitoba. And as you heard on Information Radio, a longtime seller of Christmas trees in Winnipeg is no more. The St. James Optimist Club has stopped running its fundraising tree lot outside the Assiniboine Golf Club. Your next local CBC News is at 8:30.
All right, thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Let's get to the situation in the weather first before traffic. Here's Abby.
Yeah, we're starting the day mostly cloudy across board. Light snow brushes parts of the south this morning. Steady clouds sit over the north, and that breezy north winds gives the whole province that wintry feel. We get to see snow cover in some parts and slippery roads to deal with and get used to. For Winnipeg right now, -2, -3 at the airport. The day starts with that overcast. Only a slight chance of snow as that north wind pushes the high to about -1 later today. And for other regions in the south, we're seeing temperatures sit between -2 and -4 with cloudy conditions. Light snow moves through parts of the south this morning, and other areas we see mostly cloudy conditions with gentle north breeze. Highs would just be around -1, -2, and then tomorrow we'll see a mix of sun and clouds. But up north, we're seeing temperatures between -5 and -7 at this time. Thompson seeing light freezing drizzle, and many northern parts of the province will be seeing periods of light snow. Highs would just stay between -5 and -7 for the day. Winnipeg, we're sitting at -2 at this time.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Corey, who is having a problem with the commute?
Yeah, we'll start here in the city, then we'll move to the highways, which are starting to see some snow in southwestern Manitoba this morning. Here in the city, Archibald, all morning, there's been an issue with a stalled car. Particularly that's Archibald and right at St. Catherine. There's a stall blocking the northbound curb lane, so keep left to get around. That's been a problem for a while. As well, heard earlier, the southbound Salter Bridge, this may still be an issue. The curb lane is closed right on the bridge. That's the Slaw-Rebchuk Bridge, also known as. Things were getting pretty backed up as far as Selkirk, I heard from Jim earlier. Talking about the highways, though, western Manitoba this morning, that snow was starting to make things a little more slippery. Got a call from Kyle. He was going northbound on Highway 83 from Melita to Verdun. It's getting very snow covered there. Usually 100, but he's going about 60 just to keep things, from slipping too much. Also got a call as well about Highway 16 between Russell and Shoal Lake, also seeing some light snow there around there. So if you're in kind of the far west Manitoba, those highway conditions seem to be deteriorating right now as that snow kind of starts to make a nice snowy layer, a slick layer on the highways. If you have any other updates for me, though, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you're walking, bike, and driving. Would love to get a call from you. That number, 204-788-3093.
So if you've been watching the show on YouTube, it's interesting. I've been a prairie girl all my life, and you can see that change in the color of the clouds in the sky this morning. That little change that says, yeah, there's snow coming, Winnipeg. Well, next on the show, traffic safety is on the minds of many as news came yesterday that Manitoba author Rosalie Tennyson has died. Police say the 67-year-old was crossing Osborne Street at Roslyn when she was struck by a car on Friday. She was the 9th pedestrian fatality this year in the city. Now, that number is down year over year from 2024, but it is up significantly from the 4 pedestrians killed in 2023. That's according to the latest data from MPI. CBC's Megan Ketchison asked people at the intersection in the village how they feel about pedestrian safety in the area.
My name's Kieran Bjornsson. I used to live in the village. I just live across the river there in West Broadway, so I often am finding myself here for groceries, services, stuff like that. I feel as though, especially when you're crossing northbound and the cars are coming southbound, they're really ripping it down the bridge, and sometimes when they turn, they're not really thinking about the people who have the right of way. Considering how high foot traffic there is at this intersection, I'm kind of shocked that there isn't traffic calming or some sort of lowered speed limit just to make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists alike. I don't know how to do city planning, and I don't know how that all works, but I would appreciate if cars that were coming either southbound or northbound over this bridge, if they had some incentive or a new posted limit maybe closer to when they're getting to the intersection, just because that shouldn't happen. And the fact that there's been 9 traffic fatalities is ridiculous in a city that has the means to make it safe for everyone.
Eric Lavoie. Unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. It seems like a lot of speeding going on in this area. We live nearby, so we kind of hear. And there's been times, I'm crossing and there's close calls, and I've seen it multiple times. It's a somewhat frequent thing, so unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. I think that's the thing. It's just a matter of time when people are, picking up speed to that extent and just not aware of their surroundings. And I think I don't feel completely safe. I'm very vigilant, so even if the walking sign's up, I'm still gonna look a few times to make sure. But I wouldn't say I feel totally safe, because I don't trust people driving over here, especially I think the bridge adds to it. People coming down the bridge picking up speed. I could feel safer for sure.
Those are some of the people that spoke with Megan Ketchison at Osborne at Roslyn, right in the village there. A pedestrian was hit and killed there on Friday. Janice Lukes is a longtime pedestrian safety advocate and a city councillor. Her ward is Waverley West. She has successfully advocated for pedestrian safety measures in her part of Winnipeg, and she's been listening in. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
Why can't we improve safety in the village? What were you thinking about what you just heard? I mean, my mind is going back to years ago where a man got killed in the same way. And we started then doing a series of stories about how to improve safety. What would you like to see done?
What would I like to see done? Well, Marcy, if you think back over 20 years ago, you came to my home and we talked about active transportation and walking and biking and safety for the vulnerable road user. Really, it's a combination of things. But I have to say, just from experience over 20 years, the driving behavior that I see on the roads is horrific. It's horrific. MPI stats, speeding and distracted driving are the top causes of accidents, collisions, crashes. So I started out, there was $100,000 in the budget. 20 years later, I spent 10 years advocating, 10 years, I'm calling it the dark side. I became an elected councillor and have been working on active transportation. We're putting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars now into improving road safety. We have a division. I brought forward a motion, council supported it. We have a road safety division now with staffing. So what do we do? How do we correct the behavior of speed and distracted driving? Because the pedestrian does not have a chance. The vulnerable road user does not have a chance against a vehicle.
So
right?
Yesterday, CBC's urban living commentator listed a couple of different things. Some of them we have in Winnipeg already, but maybe not all over. One of them is raised intersections as a measure to reduce speeding. How effective have the raised intersections in your neighborhood been?
Great. They're great. They reduce speeding for the little section that they're in, just like speed tables, which basically what they are, bulb outs, curb installations. We can put all this infrastructure we want to change the built environment on the road, but think about all our roads. Think about the amount of money this is going to cost. We have to address speed and distracted driving to the drivers. We can put all these tables and humps and bumps and whatever on the road. It's ridiculous. We need to do more enforcement. The police can't be everywhere. We need photo enforcement. We need to look at cities and countries around the world, New Zealand, Australia, how they are curbing driving behavior, how they are correcting it. Education campaigns and enforcement.
So more ticketing then? Hit people in the wallet is your view on how what will slow drivers down?
A combination. I mean, we've been trying to educate for decades, right? Decades. It doesn't seem to be working. We need to have evidence to say your behavior is not accurate, it's not correct. Corrected behavior, I fully support it, because if you look at countries that are using photo technology, they're getting results. Their roads are safer.
So can you name what country you would have looked at and how that compares to our photo radar already in Winnipeg that is making you say that is a route we should go?
I think New Zealand and Australia have incredible road safety strategies, road safety policies. I think they're very, very advanced. They use a lot of photo technology for phones. They use it for speed, noise, also noise. So, and they're seeing results. So it's not, you can have all these philosophies of is it good, is it bad, is it a tax grab, is it a money grab? If it works and makes our roads safer, why wouldn't we be doing it?
So I mentioned the 9 pedestrian fatalities this year. Overall, though, there's actually been 16 fatalities caused by motor vehicle collisions in 2025. It's interesting because normally we do approach this and talk about how does we talked about the raised intersection. How do they work? Do they slow down? What do we do with more crosswalk lights? Yesterday, the urban columnist talked about narrowing the roadways everywhere because you naturally have to slow down. But what you're saying this morning is that all the measures in the world aren't going to change the attitudes, and you think that it lies with the drivers?
Yeah, 100%.
If that's the case, and you said we've done all the education in the world, I'm just curious, what built things would you still like to see added, given that obviously we talked a lot about enforcement, and I get that that's the biggest thing to you. But if we are going to spend more money on some areas of Winnipeg, what would you like to see us spend on the built environment, and where?
Sure. So I'm not a traffic engineer. Everyone, it seems, who has a driver's license believes they're traffic engineers. I rely on the traffic engineers. Different road conditions, different road designs require different treatments. So personally, I find speed tables very effective. We're piloting these speed bump outs, narrowing roads. There's all kinds of things. I'm supportive of all of them. Certain ones are meant for certain conditions or certain areas. So it's not one over anything else.
Have you been how, Councillor, have you been able to measure the success of the raised crosswalks since they were installed in your area, or is that just an anecdotal feeling to you?
Well, we put them in over a year ago. So the city, unfortunately, doesn't have a large budget to do follow-up studies. So a lot of it is, how does it feel to the residents who are walking and driving in the area? And I've had very positive feedback. A section of them are across from two parks on either side. So you've got this linear, green, beautiful drag strip concept that now has all these lovely blobs of asphalt making speed tables. And it works. It works. So, but that's for that one little section in between two parks. It's not the city of Winnipeg.
Janice Lukes, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Janice Lukes is City Councillor for Waverley West Ward. All right, Winnipeg, let us know. What do you want to see done to improve your safety as a pedestrian in this city? And remember, often pedestrians are also drivers. So what are your thoughts on more enforcement maybe being needed? More ticketing being needed? Maybe more photo radar? Do we have a bigger issue with speed and drivers and behaviors than we have had in the past, as Janice Lukes feels and has shared? Let us know. What do you think we should do? And also, what should we forego? If we are going to do the built environment more, we need to find money somewhere to do that. So 788-3205, if you want to have your say on this, 788-3205. You can read online more about what I was mentioning at the beginning. Another person killed in Winnipeg, 67-year-old Manitoba author Rosalie Tennyson, who was struck in the Village on Friday. It is 8:25 a.m. right now on 89.3. In a moment, we're going to check with Marjorie Dalhouse what's coming up on their call-in portion of Radio Noon. It's cloudy, -2. Take it easy, speaking of driving. If you're in Westman especially, Corey's been getting a lot of calls about snow on the road in that part of Manitoba. Well, we have local music to get us down to the bottom of the clock in 8:30 here. Winnipeg's Ariel Posen has a new tune. This one is called Future Present Tense.
Every time I search for something new, you're the one I keep on running to. Only thing I gotta have is what I have with you. Make me wanna lose my self-control. I don't need a hand if I can't hold you. Only thing I gotta have is what I have with you. Take me somewhere I have never been. Make me wanna go back there again and again, living in future present tense. When did it get written in the stars? If it never ends, when did it start? Only thing that matters is now and what comes after. Take me somewhere I have never been. Make me wanna go back there again and again, living in future present tense. Future present tense. It don't matter where we've been, we don't need no common sense. Time is worth more if it's spent in the future present tense. It don't matter where we've been, we don't need no common sense.
That's the name of the tune, Future Present Tense. Ariel Posen, it's one of his new ones. He's playing the Park Theatre on December 12th. Maybe you're going to check it out. Right now, we got to switch gears and find out what Marjorie Dalhouse is talking about on the call-in on Radio Noon.
Yeah. Well, Marcy, yesterday we talked about, whether or not you had your Christmas decorations up.
Yeah, and you've got all yours up, and I was jealous.
Yeah, and you're slowly working towards
couple
putting
wreaths
yours
outside,
up.
but they kind of look stupid with my turf. I have turf for my dogs, and so Yeah. Last year, to make it look more natural, I was like trying to find any snow I could. There wasn't enough of it. I was throwing it on my stuff. It was so stupid. The neighbors must have thought I was crazy. I was throwing it at the wreaths and throwing it, but I was trying to spread it around.
Yeah, you're trying to stage it, right? Well, with all my Christmas lights out there, I'm like, something's missing. They feel like they need snow. We've got some in the forecast. Maybe not quite what Calgary got, but we're going to be talking snow or no snow. It's been kind of mixed reaction, I have to say, from a lot of folks. A lot of people saying, this is great. I mean, I can get stuff done outside. The weather's a little bit nicer.
I know.
But people are getting in that holiday mode and they're like, I need some snow. And of course, our outdoor enthusiasts are like, I need snow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody driving around with their trucks and their snowman plates going, come on. I'm kind of conflicted too. I like seeing the green lawns. I mean, it's unusual, but... Right.
Yeah.
December next week.
So give us a call. We're only 1 month away from Christmas, snow or no snow. Riley Lachuk is going to join us to give us some figures, some facts, and tell us a little bit more about what's in the forecast. So call.
All right. Thanks, Marge.
Thanks, Marcy.
That's the call in between 12:30 and 1. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. At 8:30, it's cloudy and -2 downtown, cloudy and -2 in Brandon, -7 and light freezing drizzle reported in Thompson. Good morning, I'm Josh Crabb. The Manitoba Métis Federation is suing Canada and Manitoba over the 60s scoop. The decades-long practice saw many Indigenous children removed from their homes between 1951 and 1991. The MMF claims thousands of Red River Métis children were taken from their communities during that time, resulting in the deprivation of Métis culture, language, and identity for many. They're suing on behalf of all Red River Métis people impacted by the 60s scoop, as Métis and non-status Indigenous people were largely excluded from a 2017 settlement for survivors. Tears formed in Jeremy Bray's eyes last night after learning the Manitoba government won't pay for his medical treatment. Bray has a neurological disease slowly taking away his ability to move his muscles. The 30-year-old and his family met with the health minister, hoping the province would agree to pay for the costly drug, but the province is not changing its mind. Bray called it a tough day.
All I would like is to be for the province that I've lived in my entire life, the province that I love, to help me and provide treatments.
Manitoba isn't paying for the drug because it won't overrule Canada's drug agency. It doesn't recommend the treatment for adults over 25, citing a lack of evidence. Bray has had the treatment for half a year because the drug company was giving it to him for free, but that coverage is lapsing soon. CO Silica held another open house in Winnipeg Monday night. The Alberta Mining Company is trying once again to get a license to extract sand from below the surface of the arm of Springfield. Supporters and opponents attended the event held in a meeting room at Club Regent Casino Hotel. Winnipeg resident John Sparrow, who owns an oil change company, says he supports CO Silica because Manitoba's economy needs a boost.
We need to develop our resources here. I don't like being from a deficit province. I feel horrible when I go to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and those taxpayers are funding our stuff here.
People attending the event were asked whether they supported or opposed the project. Crews were called to an early morning fire in a vacant home on Laura Street near the intersection of Salter and Logan. There was heavy smoke and flame when firefighters got there around 4:15. They got the fire under control just before 5. No one was found inside and there were no injuries reported. The cause is under investigation. The same home was previously damaged by fires this past June and in February 2024. A new lab at Assiniboine College is bringing together creativity and entrepreneurship. At the Creative Collab, makers get together and get hands-on experience with everything from 3D printing to sewing to digital design. Drew Miles is a second-year digital art and design student. He's using new tools he says felt intimidating before. He can now customize guitar parts with 3D printers to redesign the neck of a guitar.
I love to solve problems. So when I think about things that I liked on this guitar, but I didn't like it about this guitar, I now have the power to design away things that don't work well. Things like the shape of the neck. I can make a shape of the neck that's best for me.
Miles says the collab has given him a lasting creative community. And it's been selling Christmas trees in Winnipeg since the 1950s, but the St. James Optimist Club is discontinuing its annual tree lot. Club member Bob Miori has helped with the tree lot since the mid-70s. Now in his mid-80s, he says there are fewer Optimist members and not enough volunteers to keep the sale going. Miori says he'll miss it.
I would miss most the personal contact that I would had with people. It has been so fantastic. I always come home with friendly, happy stories. Loving to see the kids, the parents, people coming with dogs, with sleds, walking trees out, putting them on the top of the cars. It was all fun.
He says the club will continue donating the money they have to youth groups, schools, and scholarships. And that is CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 9 o'clock.
I have the greatest photo. I'll put up on my Facebook tomorrow, Josh.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it came up in my feed, and it's like literally from the 70s when we used to go cut down Christmas trees, probably in areas of Manitoba we weren't supposed to be doing this in. But we used to have bonfires. My uncle would go, and we'd walk in anyway. And I literally have a mullet. And yeah, it's classic. We have one of those big station wagons. It looks like kind of a strange, odd, unstylish Norman Rockwell prairie painting.
Oh, that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, I'll show you that off air.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get people's photos actually tomorrow of getting trees. That might be fun to collect. In
you can still do that. You can get a permit to go cut down a tree on Crown land. So you probably had a permit, we'll say.
I don't know. It was the 70s. The rules were a little bit looser, or at least in my family they were.
All right. It's in the past.
Right. It's certainly in the past. All right. Thanks, Josh, for the morning.
Thank you.
Final look at what's happening in the commute, Corey.
Very slippery on the highways, particularly in western, southwestern Manitoba. So heads up there. Look out for stalled cars. Actually, the stalled car has now been cleared on northbound Archibald, but southbound Salter Bridge, curb lane may still potentially be closed, causing some pretty big backups.
Abby.
Yeah, light snow in the southern part of the province and freezing drizzle in Thompson at this time. Most of the regions will see temperatures just stay between -2 and -5 today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody who worked on the show. Jim Agapito, Sophia Peralta Baron, as well as Sierra Sanders, Jenna Badasso, Joni Niccolo, Megan Ketchison, and Josh Crabb in our news department today. Corey Funk, Abby Adiemi, and Darren Marash, the fabulous three in Studio 15 control room. Nellie Gonzalez is our show's producer, and Leif Larson's the senior producer of audio at CBC Manitoba. My name is Marcy Marcusa. You take care, Manitoba. Thanks for tuning in. Weigh in anytime on anything. It's 788-3205. That's what we're here for as your public broadcaster. And be well. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. The Currents coming up next.